40 years ago, we opened our doors with one mission in mind.
We'll be right back with the top 10 songs of 1983.
To sell quality American-made vehicles at a fair price.
You have arrived.
And we've loved every minute of the ride. Celebrating 40 years of Two Rivers Ford.
.601. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. During the first day of legal tampering in the NFL, 3 of the Titans free agents agreed to terms with other teams. Guard Nate Davis, a 3-year, $30 million deal with the Chicago Bears, with just over $19 million guaranteed. Linebacker David Long Jr., a 2-year, $11 million deal with the Miami Dolphins. And defensive end DeMarcus Walker, who had a great year with the Titans last season, he's now going to the Bears, agreed to a 2-year, $14 million contract. The Titans did address their need at offensive tackle, signing former Eagle Andre Dillard to a 3-year deal worth $29 million. Men's college basketball tonight, 2 of the first 4 games in action. Southeast Missouri State taking on Texas A&M Corpus Christi. We will join that game in progress following 3HL today. Then it'll be Pittsburgh going on against Mississippi State right after that. NIT, Yale at Vanderbilt, 8 o'clock tip at Memorial Gym this evening. And at Bridgestone Arena, Red Wings taking on the Predators, 7 o'clock will be the face-off. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Tuesday morning edition is here, and so is free agency. March Madness, a free agent frenzy, all of the things happening. We sleep in May on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Filling in for Ramon Foster once again, he is the executive producer of Titans Radio, Mr. Rhett Bryan. Our capitalized J journalist, Kayla Anderson, and the best producer in the world, Jonathan Schaefer, making the show happen.
The best producer in the world!
My name is Will Bowling. It is Tuesday, March the 14th, and if you want to fire the general manager already, I just want to say you should probably turn on an Xbox or a PlayStation and play Madden. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Is that already what we're seeing out there?
I just decided this morning, you know what? Instead of the extra cup of coffee, I'm going to go read the Zone's Twitter mentions.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
And get a little more fired up today. So that's what we're going to do.
Oh, boy.
Here we go.
What is Rand doing?
Nathaniel!
He signed a left tackle. That's what he did. So,
Reportedly.
signed a left tackle.
Right.
And many other things to discuss today with the first four starting tonight, with free agent moves happening everywhere, and with Aaron Rodgers still doing Aaron Rodgers things.
Yeah, he's still the talk of the town, every town in America, if you listen to national radio. So he just continues to hold franchises hostage. He really controls so much of the narrative in the NFL because some teams are just waiting to make moves just to sign him.
Yeah. And you're
Aaron Rodgers.
And
Right?
there it is. And that, yeah, absolutely. Because yesterday at 11 o'clock, what happened, Shafe?
Oh, I don't have that queued up.
Okay, good. Thanks. Yeah, you're right. He's holding at least two franchises hostage in this because, if I'm not mistaken, the Jets and the Packers are the only two teams that I didn't see any reported activity with.
You want to try that again now?
Yeah, because yesterday at 11, what happened, Shafe?
Legal tampering engaged.
Fight. There it is.
I was wondering for a second what that was, and then I remembered, oh, yeah.
Fight.
We're going to use that a lot.
Finish
today.
him. And look, you have a vested interest in Andre Dillard, the reported offensive tackle that the Titans have agreed to terms to. I messaged you in the text, the group text. I'm like, there's a Coug from Washington State.
I know. I was in an appointment, guys. And you know when you're in an appointment and then you get out and there's some sort of news
And
that
there's
happens.
87 text messages.
Yes, and your Twitter notifications are going off. And so I'm like, what is going on? I look down, I see Coug, see that you sent, and
Yeah.
I'm going, yes. You know, I just a little selfishness on my part with being a former Coug. Yeah,
There
but
it
you
is.
know what? It's only once in a while that you get to cover guys that played for your university. But specifically with Andre, I remember, guys, he was at the 2019 draft right here in Nashville. And I got to interview him and talk with him on the red carpet. Clearly got drafted in the mid-first round to the Philadelphia Eagles. I had expected, he had a great career at Washington State. I had expected him to be a guy that would contribute right away. But as we'll get into, had an injury, unfortunately. Somebody beat him out, and he never really got that chance to be that dude. So maybe this is a second chance for him here. Ramon texted us and said he thought that if he can stay healthy, this is a really good pickup.
Yeah, Ramon did not pay us to talk as much offensive line as we're probably going to talk today, but we are still going to talk offensive line. And I swear, Jonathan Schaefer, if you record me saying that, I don't know what I'll do. I'll just be really mad at you.
I mean, it's recording, so
okay,
I mean,
well,
it's inevitable. Every
anyway.
moment of the show gets recorded.
Yeah, that's true. Unfortunately, that is true.
Nathaniel!
That is right. I literally feel like we could just go through a list of free agent signings yesterday and we could fill this entire show. Because there's a lot that happened.
It's nuts. Every 5 minutes, Twitter refreshes and there's some new deal coming down or a new trade or a new pickup or whatever it is. And at one point, Aaron Rodgers was supposedly signing a deal. According to Trey Wingo.
And then he went back into darkness.
Yeah, even Garrett
Aaron Rodgers.
Garrett Wilson tweeted out, yes, I can finally go on vacation. Like, all right. And then he realized that it wasn't a done deal. And so
you can't.
he tweeted again. He's like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What's
Sure.
the over-under on the Kenny Mayne drop today on the show? I'm saying at least 11.5.
I mean, we're at 3 already.
11.5 is a solid bet.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going over on that.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
11.5 's the
Especially if
number.
something happens during the show, which is possible.
Very true.
Challenge accepted.
So the other news, obviously, is we have seen it's been reported that Nate Davis has signed with the Chicago Bears. I think the interesting part of that is that Nick Corte on Twitter reporting this contract gets the Titans on the 2024 compensatory pick board with a fifth rounder for Nate Davis going to Chicago. And Nate Davis, with the money reported, even more than the $7 to $8 million estimated per year that I had seen in evaluations a month ago, is looking at like $10 million a year. And then David Long Jr. signing a 2-year deal, reportedly worth $11 million to go to Miami, who loaded the wagons yesterday too.
Which that didn't feel like a lot.
No, but, I think they probably had some talks about coming back on a 1-year deal here, and he probably took the 2-year deal because obviously 2's better than 1.
Good point.
And look, for those who were ready to bring David Long back, and listen, I had no problem with it, but it's availability. 12 games that he missed in the last 2 seasons, and I think that was a huge factor in all of this. I mean, how many times we heard Coach Vrabel talking about availability in those things, and in both of their cases, because, Nate Davis went through a knee and an ankle and a foot. I mean, he had all kinds of things on a lower leg in the 2022 season. But, yeah, between that and everything else going on, it was the party I was here for. I'm good.
615-737-1045 is our number this morning. If you want to jump in, David Ubben of The Athletic will join us at 8:20 today. He's back on the beat after a little bit of time off after the college football national championship. Interested to see if he thinks we've learned anything significant at the quarterback position in those top 4 guys going into the draft. And just the changes, rule changes in college football, how many of them stick, how many of them are just much ado about nothing going into the new year and into spring practice, which starts next week for Tennessee.
There we go.
Always sneaks up on.
Busy.
Already started for Vanderbilt as well. And then Ron Slay in hour 4.
All right.
Just a little bit to discuss.
The show will have no roof in hour 4.
Partner.
Absolutely none. It's going to be cold in here.
Yes, it will. Yeah, it is 31 degrees outside.
I know. I brought out my pea jacket that you wear in the cold places that I've lived in.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to get up to, I think, 45 today and 54 tomorrow.
Oof.
Yeah, and where you used to live in Montana, cold.
Yeah. It does
Well,
get
and
chilly.
look, we're to that point of the year where you're going to have all these little, it's the old wives' tale stuff, but the winters, there's a blackberry winter and there's a dogwood winter and there's, Indian sun. Anyway, there'll be these cool down periods all the way up to almost Memorial Day where there'll be little cold snaps like that. There is every year. And this just happens to be a cold front that's come through. So
We already had our first spring of deception. Now
Yep.
we're in second winter.
Well, let me say this. You haven't lived long enough in this area
Just period.
to see weather patterns that are the outliers from what it normally is.
Right.
30 years ago last weekend, there was a blizzard that came through town.
Yep.
And I remember it distinctly because I was watching the NCAA tournament. Back then, the tournament started just a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
I was watching the opening weekend of the NCAA tournament. And there are snow drifts around our cars, shin deep, which is really weird around here. And down further south, going towards Alabama, I think Chattanooga had 31 inches of snow, something like that.
Ooh.
And it's just one of those weird things that happened, didn't have much of a winter, but you get to March and boom. So every once in a while, there's a weather outlier in this thing, and it's just not very cyclical. It's once, every 3 or 4 generations.
Mhm. I hear a lot of those stories from my family, but because they've always been here since the 80s. But
Sure.
I was 85, I think, was a big snow or something. in
listen.
85.
Yes, 100%.
That's right.
Because I was in middle school in Murfreesboro.
Okay.
We had just come back from Christmas break. My parents were working the first night we got back from Christmas breaks, they were with the PTO, the parent teacher organization. They were doing like a chili supper fundraiser deal.
Yeah.
And it snowed that night, and we didn't go back to school for another week and a half. We went back to school a week and a half later. It snowed while we were in school. We got let out. We ended up going part of the summer because there was so much snow.
Wow.
That year. So, yeah, I mean, we had some winters back when I was a kid.
Right.
Nothing like what it is now.
The one I remember is, I can't believe this, it's been 20 years since the crazy snow in 2003 when we got sent to school, and then we got out off the bus at Edmondson Elementary School, Go Explorers, and we were in the lunchroom, which is exactly where you get off the bus. And they immediately told us to get back on the bus. And by the time we got home, 4 inches of snow had fallen in like literally a half hour.
That is another anomaly weather event here.
Yeah.
So the forecasters, thank you, Leland. Thank you, Davis Nolan. I love you both.
Right.
You're good. Sometimes it happens. They were calling for a dusting of snow.
Yeah.
Just going to be a dusting. By 11 o'clock that morning, it was 6-7 inches of snow in Nashville.
Yeah.
And it was gridlock everywhere.
I'm sure that was
and then it basically melted off,
everybody.
and it was the next day was okay, but yeah, it was nuts, and that's one of the reasons why, to your point, anytime there's a hint of snow, they go ahead and call school off because there were a lot of children stuck on buses till 8-9 o'clock at night that night.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Parents not happy.
Don't want that.
You would be.
And I remember watching my brother and sister push my brother's car up our hill when they got home from school that day, and that was not a fun sight for either of them. But I just got to stand and watch because I was in first grade. 615-737-1045. One of these days I'll sing the Edmondson fight song that I do remember.
Okay.
But
No,
maybe
I don't see any scenario of that.
No, that'll be premium
One day.
content.
No,
on the
I don't see
road.
any scenario of
That's
that.
premium zone. That's on Zone Plus. Zone TV
There you go.
Plus.
His name is Will Bowling.
Coming up next, all the moves involving Tennessee Titans, some reported new and some old. 3 guys on the way out, 1 reportedly on the way in. It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will. We're on the way in this morning on 104.5 The Zone. Hey, it's Will Bowling here for my friends at Lee Company. Do you have a ceiling light fixture that flickers? Maybe you need an extra outlet or 2. Or do you have wall switches that don't seem to work? Well, they all seem to be simple issues, but they're rarely do-it-yourself projects. Dealing with electricity requires the expertise of an experienced professional. So call the pros over at Lee Company. Their electrical experts can solve any problem you have safely and efficiently. And right now, you can enjoy a $30 electrical service call. That's right, only $30. So contact Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or leecompany.com for an appointment. Those wall switches, that ceiling light fixture that's flickering a little bit, don't do it yourself. Just call my friends at Lee Company. For $30, they're going to solve any problem you have quickly and efficiently. 615-567-1000. That's the number to call. The website, leecompany.com. That's Lee Company, all you need. Tuesday morning edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will, and it's powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. With Rhett Bryant filling in for Ramon Foster, who's loafing. And we've got reported offensive lineman signings to talk about.
Whoa.
He's so sad.
Kayla Anderson, Jonathan Schaefer, Will Bowling. Andre Dillard, the reported signing for 3 years, $29 million. After the Titans either released or opted not to re-sign 4 of their offensive linemen who started last season. Let me see. Where have you heard that might happen before, Kayla? On a certain Wednesday weekly feature on a morning show that we're on right now with Rhett Bryant, who's in the studio right now, that 80% of the offensive line might be new.
Mm-hmm.
I did say that, didn't I?
Yeah,
Yes, you did.
Thanks for setting me up.
Correctly
That's right.
that.
Yes, sir.
I didn't want to be right. I just, look, if you do this as long as I have been doing it, just follow the money trail and just look at the things on paper.
Look at that money.
Look at the money. And here we are. Andre Dillard, and I got to doing some digging on him last night when this was reported. So, he was a first-round pick in 2019, as you mentioned. You met him at the draft, the red carpet. Great picture of the two of you, Kayla. And played over 1,000 snaps as a rookie. He has 9 career starts, played in 43 games, 8 of them at left tackle, 1 at right tackle. And the 1 at right tackle came in the 2022 season against the Cowboys when they had some injury issues and they had to shuffle the line. He started at left tackle his rookie year and then, had a rough go of it. Jordan Mailata came in, won the left tackle job, and he's been supplanted pretty much ever since as a backup and a situational player, but a good one. Mm-hmm. He missed the 2020 season due to a torn biceps. He missed the first 6 games of 2022 with a broken forearm, right? Those things happen. Broken bone's one thing, soft tissue is another. But when you look at his time on the line, now, in 2022, because he was a situational player for the most part, he played 5 games at guard in 2022 for the Eagles, which we know how good a year they had. And so, I saw words like, it's a reclamation project or whatever. Listen, it's an offensive tackle. It didn't cost you a boatload of money that I believe, the young man has 4 years worth of experience in this. And so that's just kind of a thumbnail of his career so far, just brushed over. Mm-hmm. And so, they've got, and look, I don't know if they play him at right tackle, left tackle. I don't know, but with 8 starts at left tackle, you would think that would be the natural place they would try to put him in the lineup.
And some people are asking, well, is it just a backup? No, I mean, he's going to start.
Yeah, with the kind of money they paid him, he's come in as a starter. And when you somebody, and I forget who it was, and I should have screenshot it on my phone, but showed the PFF blocking numbers side by side. Of Dennis Daly and him.
It was Justin.
Justin Mello?
I'll look because I retweeted it actually.
Yeah.
If you want to go on either of our Twitters and look at that.
On our Twitters. And it's night and day difference.
Yeah.
I mean, all the blocking grades, PFF blocking grades for Dennis is in the 40s and he's in the 80s and 90s. So
Justin Graver.
Oh, yeah. Titans film room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Can I add to that really quick?
Go right ahead.
Because
you know this young man.
I don't know if you were listening, Rhett, but we were talking about it on the show after the NFL Combine when they were doing NFL O-line drills. There was a specific guy who was pretty intense out there doing the drills with him, and he's the Philadelphia O-line coach, Jeff Stoutland.
Yep.
And he was really impressed with Darnell Wright. I was telling you guys this, and I was like, wow, that's a tough critic to be really, giving Darnell so much praise during his drills, because he was also calling guys out. And Teron brought up a great point, too. He said, look, Dillard was under him for 4 years, and he's a good developer of talent as well. So as much as maybe he didn't get to play, you would hope that he kind of soaked in all that knowledge from Stoutland.
Yep.
So he said, this is a guy who's clearly ready to go. It's just about now getting the chance to play consistently.
During their playoff run and eventual appearance in the Super Bowl, and I forget what window, but it's in that window of time in January, someone from The Athletic did a piece about Stoutland, and it was basically like Stoutland University and all the O-line that he had cultivated. And, he's highly regarded as that position coach in that area. And there's been many of those throughout the years in the NFL, especially in the modern NFL. But, yeah, he's highly, highly regarded as an offensive line coach in this. And I wish Big Moan was here because he could tell us more about that. But you're right, and I think that's a very important point, is that he's had really good coaching to help him through this, because you're thrown into the fire as a rook and start playing left tackle, and then all of a sudden you're not. So there's a process there. And then you battle injuries. And now here he is ready to roll. So, listen, you knew, and it happens every offseason, the teams that go deep in the playoffs, they get the cupboard robbed. Everybody's looking for the best player from the best teams. And, I think it's a smart move because it did not cost you a fortune, and it is a shorter-term deal. And so here we go. Let's plug him in and see what happens.
And there are a lot of different options you have moving on here, because at best, Andre Dillard is your left tackle for the next 3 seasons at a very reasonable price. At worst, he's maybe a swing tackle or a surplus guy who can plug in a number of different positions.
Which you need anyway.
Which I think this franchise learned. You desperately need quality as a 6th offensive lineman, regardless of whether that's Andre Dillard or a 2nd or 3rd round draft pick. And this is something I want to get into more tomorrow. In looking at the offensive line prospects in the draft specifically, I still wouldn't be surprised if the Titans use a 1st-round pick on an offensive lineman.
Or a high one. I mean, it just depends on how everything shakes out with the quarterback stuff. But, yes, there's going to be a combination of free agency and draft picks on this offensive line. And I'm not saying – I don't mean to say that in an absolute, but, I mean, I feel like that's the course this is going to go, which is what I said yesterday, that it's going to be a combination of both free agency and draft picks.
Yeah.
Whether they use number 11 or number 41 in round 2, because they have so many things they need to take care of. We got to see what they're going to reportedly do on tomorrow afternoon with Aaron Brewer, who is a restricted free agent who has experience on the line. And again, I could see a scenario where they tender him and move him to center because he's probably better suited in that spot. So that's something to kind of keep your eyes on. So if that's something they do, then now you're starting to get a grasp of how things go. You supposedly have your bookends there with NPF and with Andre Dillard. You move Aaron Brewer to center. Now you're working at the guard spots. And, I could see a scenario where Dylan Radins is asked to be plugged into the right guard spot. And now you're just looking for a left guard and for, depth in the line and swing guys and, to bolster that group of guys.
Man, Radins being able to start at guard would give you such a luxury then to spend a premium pick on left guard and feel good about the continuity you have on the line with returners and then younger talent that you've added. You would have a solid mix at that point of, okay, at that point, you're only replacing 2 starters. And yeah, Brewer would be in a different position and Radins would be in a different position, but you would still have 3 returners on the line in that scenario, which makes you feel a lot more comfortable about getting up to speed early moving into the season than if you're drafting a right guard on day 2 and you're plugging in a left guard that you either sign or draft early, or maybe that's Osiris Torrance, the kid from Florida that you want to,
he's going to be first round.
Right, exactly.
And Darnell Wright helped himself enough. He'll be bottom of first round now. I don't think he goes in night 2.
No.
And again, I've been on record as saying he's been reported, and I would agree with, he's probably the first right tackle taken off the board.
Yeah.
He has done so good for himself in this offseason leading up to the draft. The other part of this that you bring up that just kind of makes me think of this, so there's one Actually, there's a couple of, and when we talk about offensive line tomorrow, we can delve into this further. But like Peter Skronsky from Northwestern is one of the top tackle prospects in this. But the argument is he a tackle? Is he a guard? He played left tackle at Northwestern pretty much his whole career. But could he play inside because he doesn't have the longest arms and he's 6'4", not 6'7"? That's what makes a prospect like him intriguing, that maybe you kick him inside at left guard and work him there. And then if things aren't right, you can move him to there are things you can do in this that would be interesting, that would add value and makes some, chances for interchangeable parts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why, Will, I agree with you. I think they just needed to start getting some pieces in place so then they could have the bigger draft picture unfold. Because also, if there's a guy that falls to you at 11 that you really can't pass up on, that's maybe not an offensive lineman.
Yeah, that's like best.
You can take that,
best
right?
Available. Yeah,
and not
sure.
feel as obligated.
And that you felt like something was going to be done in free agency to help that scenario along, because you don't want to be sitting there and going, gosh, we have to have a tackle. We have to have a tackle. And somebody's sitting there who's not a tackle who's like, oh,
yep.
That's the real conundrum, right?
You've given yourself.
Other thing, I'm sorry.
You're good.
The other thing I'm super glad of, because honestly, I didn't know what we would hear reported out of the Titans camp until 3:00 tomorrow afternoon. I'm so glad that there was an offensive lineman and some activity so that everyone on Twitter could just calm down about 3 notches, because listen,
Twitter fingers, can you believe it?
Yeah, they're hot right now.
Just like everyone yesterday, Twitter Nation, and I had all my notifications on. I'm watching, but I'm not just watching for Titans. I'm just watching all of this unfold. It's one of my favorite days of the year just to see what happens. But I'm so glad that it was reported early that Andre Dillard is reportedly going to sign with the Titans. I'm like, okay, they made a move.
Yeah.
They made a move with a former first-round pick. He's a tackle. Okay, here we go.
And they've given themselves now the ability to not have to just take whatever tackle falls to them at 11. Like if they hypothetically liked 2 of the 3 tackles, and Paris Johnson and Peter Skronsky, but maybe weren't as crazy about Broderick Jones, now you don't have the absolute necessity to just take whoever's there. You can take your guy if one of those 3 is your guy that you feel like is your left tackle of the future. But I think for the Titans fan today that's complaining about, well, what if this guy just becomes a backup? Or, what if we still draft somebody at 11 and this guy's going to start and then we're going to spend a premium pick on a backup? I would think of it this way. If your backup left tackle had been a little bit better this season, we might have never seen a backup quarterback. We might have finished the season watching Ryan Tannehill playing in Week 18 against the Jacksonville Jaguars if you'd had a backup left tackle that could still at least fill in and do a job when Taylor Lewan was out.
Sure.
I see Mike Vrabel making a clear move and Rand Carthon making a clear move to say our 6th offensive lineman has to be better than it was last season, because that just derailed so much of what this team was able to do on offense as soon as Lewan went out against Buffalo. So
I think another thing I'm hearing is, well, why are they taking Andre Dillard when he's dealt with injuries, but they're not going to keep David Long, who they say, oh, maybe you didn't keep because of injuries. Well, it's 2 different types of injuries, folks.
Yeah, because the most recent injury, as I outlined a little while ago with Andre Dillard, was last year. He missed the first 6 games with a broken forearm. I'll take a break all day long because you can see progress, you can see healing, you can see the whole thing. The soft tissue stuff is what will drive you crazy. And that hamstring of David Long's, I'm sure, was so frustrating for him. But he missed 12 games, mostly due to soft tissue injuries. That the only thing worse is if you had nerve damage, like you had the whole deal with the elbow with Marcus Mariota years ago. You just don't know how long, and if what do they always say? If it feels like it's safe, wait another week before you trot out there and try to practice again. And so, availability with those kinds of things is what we're talking about.
615-737-1045, our number this morning. Coming up, we'll take some of your phone calls. We'll get to Mike and Joey and their thoughts on the Titans' reported move yesterday, adding a tackle from the Philadelphia Eagles in Andre Dillard. And we'll also look at some of the other tackles who are off the board, including one favorite pick of Titans fans who is going to now ride in Denver with Russell Wilson. Coming up next, it's Ramon, Kayla, and Will with Rhett Bryan on 104.5 The Zone.
If you have a wet basement or crawl space, it's time to call United Structural Systems. We've all heard about these guys for a long time and for good reasons. And that's because they've served Middle Tennessee since 1994 and they've helped thousands of satisfied residential customers. They are the go-to company when it comes to foundation repair and waterproofing. And if you have a wet basement or crawl space, you don't have to put up with that. Water intrusion and moisture can give you all sorts of problems down the road, and you want to get this fixed. And it can be because you have poor drainage or surface water flooding over the walls or underwater pressure forcing water into your basement. It could be because you have a plumbing leak you just don't know. But the team at United Structural Systems will find out why you have a wet basement or crawl space and will give you a plan to fix it. And if you do decide to move forward, you don't have to pay a dime until the work is done and you are satisfied. So get that free estimate from the people I trust. Go to USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com or call 615-227-2275. United Structural Systems.
1045 The Zone's 2023 Spring Golf Classic presented by Ferguson HVAC. Coming up less than a month from now, April 10th at Greystone Golf Club. Only a few teams remain, so purchase your team. Do it now before they are gone. To do that, visit 1045thezone.com.
Jonathan Schaefer really didn't have to play a hit this good at 6:45 in the morning, but I'm kind of glad you did.
It's one of the all-time 90s hits.
On Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors.
There's
Don't
a little
speak.
ska music.
I know
for you.
just what you're saying, and I don't need a reason. Don't tell me, because it hurts.
That's Gwen Stefani, and no doubt.
Red doing
90s.
Sam Elliott talking about ska is very good.
That's a nice ska band for you at 6:45 at the Music City.
Abides.
Oh, goodness. So the Titans have reportedly agreed to terms with a core teamer.
And a linebacker.
A linebacker from the Dallas Cowboys. They got a Nebraska linebacker who doesn't host a podcast.
Whoa.
Luke Gifford, who is
hey
agreed
now.
to a 2-year deal worth up to $5 million with the Titans. We'll give you more details on that coming up.
Kalu's also from
Gifford.
there. Joshua Kalu's also a Nebraska guy, so he does not do a podcast. We're not talking about Josh.
Blues.
That's a good point.
Blues
Kalu's.
Clues.
That's right.
Yes.
With the man with the blocked field goal in Indianapolis.
Yep. Good player.
He returned the field goal in Indianapolis. He had the blocked field goal against the Chiefs in 2019.
And he had the interception that, what was it? Got kind of pushed back in.
Oh,
in
yeah.
the end zone.
In Los Angeles against the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, that was McCreary to
Right.
Kalu.
Right.
I believe.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Well done.
Jack
No, that was a
T,
big
back
play.
again. Check it back.
We go back to the phone, 615-737-1045. We got a Mike in South Carolina starting us off this morning. What's going on, Mike?
Good morning, everybody. I got a big kick out of your comments about Titans Twitter melting down yesterday.
Always.
Mike Herndon had a great poll on there. You know, how long will it be before Titans fans start freaking out? 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or an hour? And everybody was commenting, where's the 5-minute option?
That's about right.
So, regarding Dillard, I wanted to point fans to a great video by an Eagles analyst that's on YouTube. Breaking the Birds is his channel, and he breaks down a 2021 game that Dillard had against the Cowboys where he hadn't played in a long time. And there's like 5 different areas where when he was a starter in 19, his helmet was too high, his butt was too high, he had a poor base, he was too weak on bull rushes, etc. And the analyst takes 11 minutes and goes like through 30 plays where he's up against the Cowboys' defensive front, which is pretty stout, and he'd improved in all those areas quite a bit. And then on my Twitter, which is pretty simple, at MJA_DHL, I shared an article where that offensive line coach praised him a lot for what he went through to learn guard and how good he was playing at guard also. And I think this might point us toward drafting the kid from Georgia, Jones, who isn't as developed as Paris Johnson and Skronsky. And then Dillard is a tackle until Jones shows he's ready to start in the NFL because his ceiling is higher. And then he moves to guard.
Yeah.
And so, that gave us that flexibility too. But, Vrabel has 2 words, availability and versatility, that he uses over and over and over. And if people just listen to Mike Vrabel, he's telling you exactly what he's going to get. Long is gone because he wasn't available. Davis is gone because he wasn't available or versatile. And that's what they replaced him with. The $10 million for Nate Davis went to the Bears. He just plays right guard. This guy will play multiple positions. And if NPF goes down, he could probably play right tackle too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks
for the
I think
call.
it's a
I was going
good
to say,
signing.
where do I listen to your show? Because I feel like you've done this before.
It's awesome.
Did you play O-line?
It's good stuff from Mike in South Carolina.
Wow,
Appreciate
great
the call to start off the morning. I think there is a lot of truth to that. And we talk so much about the front multiplicity on the defensive side of the ball for Mike Vrabel and for this team. We could probably do a deep dive with Ramon for an hour on, whether or not a lot of linemen are comfortable playing a lot of different positions. I think that's a trait that Mike Vrabel and Rand Carthon are looking for.
The more you can do.
Right.
Yep.
615-737-1045. Joey in Cross Plains up next with us this morning. What's going on, Joey?
Morning, guys. Kayla, Gordy B, Will. So, Gordy B, you got microphones and stuff hidden at cousin at Andrew's house?
Do what?
I said you got microphones and everything hidden anything hidden at Andrew's house? Because as soon as the news broke yesterday that we had tentatively signed Dillard, Andrew and I had started talking about everything you're talking about this morning with the line shuffle. But him and I had we had it flopped to where we would put MPF on the left and Dillard on the right to help out with Radens and with Brewer in the middle. So all we would need would be a left tackle. But, I mean, and I was just curious because it's been a while, but, like, wouldn't you want Radens with the vet, Dillard on the left and leave open the right to draft somebody? Or why would you put Radens on the left? I mean, on the right.
Sure.
With MPF.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
Joey, first of all, I did not have any microphones planted anywhere. You and Andrew are smart fellas. Y'all, know what you're talking about, and I think your scenarios work out good there. I just was thinking about Dylan Radens at right because I feel like that's probably better suited for him. I don't know why I lean that way because he played left tackle at North Dakota State, but he got all kinds of reps in training camp last summer at guard and tackle and those things. And let me say this. You're talking about why wouldn't you put him with the vet in Andre Dillard? Don't forget, NPF is now a vet. He had a full rookie season at right tackle. And, going back to left tackle, we'll see what that adjustment would be for him if they decide to do that. Because obviously he played both ends at Ohio State, but playing there, even as big a program as that is, and playing in the NFL are two different things. I'm just saying, I think there's what my whole message this offseason has been. I think most anything is on the table for discussion. That's what I got out of what Mike Vrabel said in his press conference to close out the season and where he's appeared since then.
615-737-1045, our number, as we continue the conversation by looking at three reportedly former Titans who are now elsewhere, starting with Nate Davis and one defensive rising star who are going to be seeing what's up to date in the Windy City in Chicago. We reset the headlines coming up next as Hour 2 begins on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
7:01. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. According to ESPN's Todd Archer, linebacker Luke Gifford has agreed to a 2-year deal worth up to $5 million with the Titans. Gifford led the Cowboys in special teams tackles in 2022, and coaches believed he could handle a larger role on defense. Guard Nate Davis, 3 years, $30 million deal agreed to with the Chicago Bears, $19 million of that guaranteed. Linebacker David Long Jr., 2 years, $11 million with the Miami Dolphins, and defensive end DeMarcus Walker and the Bears agreed to a 2-year, $14 million contract. The Titans did address their need at offensive tackle, as they've agreed to terms with former Eagle Andre Dillard to a 3-year deal worth $29 million. 2 of the first 4 games of the NCAA men's college basketball tournament tonight. Southeast Missouri State taking on Texas A&M Corpus Christi. We will join that in progress following 3HL. That will then be followed by Pittsburgh versus Mississippi State. NIT this evening, Yale at Vanderbilt, 8 o'clock tip at Memorial Gym. And to the ice, Red Wings at the Predators, 7 o'clock the face-off at Bridgestone Arena. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Into hour number 2 this morning on the Tuesday morning edition. We are Ramon, Kayla, and Will, minus Ramon plus Rhett Bryan, the executive producer of Titans Radio, filling in for the Big Ragu once again this morning and this week. We've got Kayla Anderson. We've got the best producer in the world, Jonathan Schaefer.
The best producer in the world!
That guy coming up in hour 4. Ron Slay at 9:20. David Ubben of The Athletic at 8:20. And as always, I'm Will Bowling. The phone number 615-737-1045 as free agency begins. And we keep our heads on a swivel today as well. Who knows what's to happen before 10 o'clock today.
360. Just 360.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I feel like.
Yes.
You can't see me, but I'm rolling my head around in the studio.
Twitter, refresh.
Yes, Well, yesterday I actually was doing that where I'd like push it down to see
outside
if I could get new.
I didn't do this with a bunch of folks, but with Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero, I turned on my notifications. And that way I was like, oh, here's something.
Yeah,
okay.
and I ended up doing that.
Yep.
Smart.
Yeah, it was. I'm just going to go ahead and accept that my screen time is going to be way up this week.
I know.
It's going to be a lot more than I want it to be, but that's okay.
You're going to get that notification.
It's okay.
The first step is admitting you have a problem.
It's okay, buddy.
It's fine.
Do you get that notification sometimes if you have an iPhone and it says
your screen time's up significantly.
I was like, dang.
So we decided yesterday, by the way, after the show, that voice sounds so much like the video game Red Dead Redemption. Just like, hold the X button down to trade 100 coins for wheat. Like, that's just like brings back great memories of playing that video game.
That's not the Oregon Trail? Oh, wait, that was way back
I still contended Sam Elliott from the Big Lebowski.
Red Dead Redemption is an awesome game.
Oh, yeah.
And as much fun as Oregon Trail was, this is light years ahead of it. It's a Rockstar game, which is the company that did Grand Theft Auto.
That's right.
Favorite game of all time. Yeah. Do some trading at the general store. Hit Y to get a sack of feed for your horse.
That was always the best game when you had like a sleepover in middle school. That was the best game to play. You like start hijacking trains and just go everywhere. Like
sleepover for you in middle school. Yes,
that's right. So
that's valid.
A couple years ago.
Yeah, a couple years ago.
That's right.
When I was in 8th grade in 2019.
Not that bad, but yeah.
Oh boy.
The Titans have made another reported move this morning. Todd Archer, longtime ESPN writer covering the Dallas Cowboys, writes that linebacker Luke Gifford has agreed to a 2-year deal worth up to $5 million with the Tennessee Titans. He led the Cowboys in special teams tackles in 2022, and the tweet says as well that coaches believed he could handle a larger role on defense. This seems like another Dylan Cole, Joe Jones, another move like that was really my first reaction.
Dr. Gibby.
46 games for this guy, predominantly special teams, and a highly rated special teams player per Pro Football Focus. So Mike Vrabel loves a special teams linebacker who can come in at a pinch and do a job if somebody gets hurt at that position. So you get a Swiss Army knife that can be a core teamer, as Coach Mack would say, and play a role for you in a third of the game.
Again, the more that you know and the more that you can do. And the unfortunate thing is he's had 177 different players in the last 2 seasons to really test those theories.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're definitely looking for multifaceted, multi-talented players who can do all kinds of things to kind of keep it together, because it's, anymore, it's not just who's the healthiest down the stretch, because everybody's beat up down the stretch. It's what do you have behind that first group of starters that can come in and help when needed, that are, super valuable players. And, it seems like Luke Gifford is one of those kinds of solutions in this. As I look over all the things that were reported yesterday, there are some glaring needs and holes now for some teams. For example, and you teased it, Mike McGlinchey.
Yep.
Who Big Moan talked about right here on this show over a month ago, about maybe that's a guy that could come to Tennessee because, Rand Carthon knew him from the 49ers and vetted him, the whole deal. But, he ends up signing a deal with Denver Broncos. In fact, the Broncos went big-time shopping to protect Danger Russ yesterday. But the example I'm bringing up is the Cincinnati Bengals lost both of their starting safeties yesterday in free agency. Jesse Bates goes to Atlanta, and I forget where the other safety ended up going to, but they're gone. So that's a huge need in their second. I think you're right.
Yeah, right.
I think you're right.
Yep, that's right.
That is a big need for them in the back end of that defense.
And the money that Mike McGlinchey got as well, quite a premium price for a guy that wasn't a great pass blocker last season. Really good run blocker, McGlinchey, who signs a 5-year, $87.5 million deal with $50 million guaranteed. His 90% pass block win rate last year was 32nd out of 64 qualifiers at the position. So solid, but a guy that is getting paid for his run block win rate, which ranked 5th among all tackles last season, which made him an option here for the Titans. But the offensive lineman who now becomes a former Titan is Nate Davis. According to a report from NFL.com's Ian Rappaport, a 3-year contract worth $30 million, $19.25 million in guarantees per Mike Garafolo. He will earn an annual average salary of $10 million. Davis, a guy who missed some games, had a career-low 12 starts last season, multiple lower body injuries, and was in and out of the lineup. Titans reportedly choosing not to pay him $10 million per year. And look, the Chicago Bears have more money than anybody in the league, and they can afford to pay a little bit more and take some more risks in the free agent market yesterday.
Well, the sign that made it imminent for me is the reported deal with Chris Lindstrom, the guard in Atlanta, who stays with Atlanta for 5 years, $105 million, the richest guard contract in history that even is greater now than Quentin Nelson in Indianapolis. And then I saw that, and I was like, yep, he's definitely gone now.
He's been on the market in terms of, we've been talking about this for a while now with Nate Davis. I think more so fans were thinking he was probably gone than going to be staying here just because of the market and the money that they're able to give him. But was it the caller that talked about just the versatility? Maybe he's not as versatile as another guy you could bring in that could, if somebody went down, you could replace them. Right.
You look at Nate Davis and you say, okay, he is a right guard. And that's not to say he couldn't have lined up in other places or done, but if you have a guy who's got a resume of going and that's what you have in college football right now, coming through this pandemic, is you've gotten guys who've gotten that extra year of eligibility. Some of them played in 50 and 60 games, and because of injuries or whatever, have played all along the line, not just Cody Malk from North Dakota State. You're talking about there are some linemen in significant Power 5 schools who have played left and right tackle or left and right guard, or, can swing in the interior of that line, playing center and both guard spots. Those are valuable picks to me because of the experience.
Absolutely.
Especially if it's a bigger sample size and in a bigger conference.
Yeah.
Now, all right, I'm going to ask this question.
Okay.
What is the weirdest transaction you saw reported yesterday, or just monies that was, because I'm going to start. The Indianapolis Colts signed kicker Matt Gay to a 4-year, $22.5 million deal, the biggest ever for a kicker in free agency. Now, while the Colts don't have like a huge amount of pressing needs, there's a lot of good base there. Quarterback leads the list. You gave a kicker that much money? I don't get it.
Rodrigo Shankenship was right there.
And then he wasn't.
Blankenship.
Wow.
Did he? So is he still just never recovered from that, being out from that injury?
Nathaniel!
I don't think so.
Jeez. And he was going. I'm telling you this, though, give him a little credit, because when they drafted him, he became the guy. He was good for a while.
Yes, he was.
And then it just, in a snap of a finger.
Well, maybe he needs to get his goggles readjusted.
Disappeared.
Maybe that'll help him in his
Just a
revive his
hater.
career. No? Okay, cool.
Go to Lenscraft.
I did want to add to that. Not the weirdest thing that I happened, but I brought this up to you guys before the show today, and I said what I did realize, what went on a lot yesterday with free agency signing, was the signings of backup quarterbacks and how significant. We always knew the backup quarterback. It's a big position, right?
Sure.
But I feel like it's becoming more important than even before. Like, you're seeing these guys get that money because they know they have to have some sort of a name when these guys go down. Jarrett Stidham yesterday. Who's the Western Kentucky quarterback? Mike White yesterday.
Signs a 2-year deal with
Jameis
Miami.
Winston's going back to New Orleans just to be the backup.
Here's to your point, just tweeted by Ian Rappaport.
Oh.
The Falcons are signing former Commanders quarterback Taylor Heineke.
There you go.
With plenty of starting experience, Atlanta adds a veteran to their quarterback room.
There you go.
That's exactly what I don't hate that move for Arthur
Nope.
Smith. And I thought the Mike White signing in Miami was brilliant.
Really
'Cause
good.
I think the kid can play, and you have an insurance policy if Tua has any more concerns in staying on the field.
So when we come back, want to take a look around the NFL at the other big moves and the teams that were busiest yesterday and moving into this morning. And I've got two of the weirdest moves made by teams yesterday to answer your question, Rhett. One of them by the number 1 overall pick, Chicago Bears, or former number 1 overall pick, Chicago Bears, I should say. One
We're
of them
now at 9.
by number 32 in the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay.
Bookends of the NFL making some interesting moves at interesting prices. Coming up next as we continue Hour 2 under Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
Legal tampering engaged. Fight!
Tuesday morning edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will, and it's powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Alongside Rhett Bryan and Kayla Anderson, I'm Will Bowling. Jonathan Schaefer making the show happen on the phone lines at 615-737-1045. Discussing the stranger moves made yesterday by teams, and one team specifically who spent a lot of money in the Chicago Bears, who now at the inside linebacker position are spending as much money on two players as anybody else in the National Football League. Tremaine Edmonds at inside linebacker is making a lot of money to play off-ball linebacker, as is TJ Edwards for the Chicago Bears with the two moves they make yesterday. 4 years, $72 million and $50 million guaranteed.
Woo.
Seems like a lot.
Combined for the two of them?
Well, that's just for Tremaine Edmonds.
Yeah.
That seems like a lot of money for an inside linebacker.
All right, here's the thing about Tremaine Edmonds. First of all, I considered him one of the top free agents in this class because he has been durable. He has been accountable. He's a good player. And Buffalo's really going to miss him in that defense. He is a big, long dude who can drop back into coverage. He can come down the hill and close up the run. And look, that's the money that happens when it's the first reported free agent wave. I mean, you're going to pay a lot. That may be even more than I thought he might make. But, you knew that they were going to have some linebacker shopping to do with the money that they had and Roquan Smith getting sent in the trade deadline to the Baltimore Ravens. And he ended up getting a $100 million deal out of that in Baltimore. But both of those guys, top free agents in this class, and certainly should fit right in Chicago. But a big fan of Tremaine Edmonds when he came out in the draft with his twin brother, who Terrell Edmonds played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But, yeah, it's a lot of dough. And let me tell you, when you're Ryan Poles, the general manager, in year two in that job, and you have already pulled off a massive trade for the first overall pick, and you've got 2 1s, 2 2s. Oh, and by the way, you have DJ Moore. You can probably play with a little house money there.
Sure.
And that's literally what he did, I think. And it, and address needs at the same time, because adding DJ Moore to that wide receiving core they have, and look, I know they have Darnell Mooney and they have Chase Claypool, who they traded for. I mean, they've got receivers in that. But that's a nice core of players for Justin Fields to throw to in targets.
I feel like it's not going to be too much time before we see Chicago really starting to contend again.
If Justin
Fields can do what he needs to do.
That's it, Kayla. That's the money right there.
Yep.
If he can make the step, and this would be, year 3 for him?
With a little more help, right?
Look out. Look out.
And for Chicago, this is kind of like if the Titans would, go sign a Tennessee player, or if the Titans had added a Vol that was also local, because TJ Edwards grew up in Lindenhurst, Illinois, was a star quarterback for Lakes High School, and then changed to the defensive side of the ball at the University of Wisconsin. And there are tons of Wisconsin fans in Chicago as well. Not that far away. Started 43 of the 45 games he's played in, so now he'll play beside Edmonds in that Chicago defense. 6'1", 242 pounds, can play any of the linebacker spots, and is only 26 years old, signing a 3-year deal. So Ryan Poles certainly made it a point of emphasis to shore up the inside linebacker position on defense. And I mean, it's the old school feeling you get about the Chicago Bears, and going all the way back to a certain guy that we have here in this building named Coach Dave McGinnis, and the role of a lot of Bears linebackers. You think of the Chicago Bears, I think of the linebacker position first and foremost.
Oof.
Sure.
So
absolutely,
that's kind of the culture there. Like having elite running backs is the culture of.
And I forgot
Tennessee.
He played on the 5th-year option last year in Buffalo. Tremaine Edmonds did. He's played in 74 games. He has only missed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's only missed 6 games in 5 years.
Availability just spot on.
So
love that.
There you go.
Other interesting deal yesterday, the Kansas City Chiefs signing former Jacksonville tackle Jawan Taylor. 4 years, $80 million. $60 million guaranteed, and pretty much telling us that Orlando Brown Jr. will not be back with the Kansas City Chiefs next season. His 89% pass block win rate for Jacksonville was 37th out of 64 qualifying tackles. His run block win rate, which is not quite as important in the Kansas City offense as it is in others, including the one here, was 6th worst among tackles. PFF had Taylor as above average in pass protection and last in run blocking. Gets $20 million a year on average from the Kansas City Chiefs and $60 million guaranteed. I thought that was a pretty premium price for the former Jacksonville tackle.
Yeah, so middle of the road, right? It's not like blowing you out of the waters type of lineman, but can get the job done.
Yep.
And you're right that it speaks to they've moved on from Zeus Jr., Orlando Brown Jr., who is the top free agent offensive lineman.
I haven't heard much about him either in terms of connections.
And you know what? Just because of that, I just put a search in here just to make sure. I couldn't remember who his representation was and if it was the same thing that we're talking about with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
But he hired an agent last summer.
Okay.
In anticipation of a long-term deal because I guess he was, franchise tagged and then traded? Anyway, he's the guy still hanging out there that has not been tied to a team.
Some breaking news from Adam Schefter of ESPN.com on one predicted Titans target that we talked about yesterday who appears to be headed elsewhere. Adam Schefter reporting that the New York Jets are actively working to reach an agreement with Packers free agent, not quarterback, but free agent wide receiver, Allen Lazard.
Yep.
Which could be of interest to one Aaron Rodgers. There is another team involved and no final decision. That's right. There's 4, according to Adam Schefter. But the Jets are trying to reunite Lazard and offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett, according to Adam Schefter.
I've also heard this is just part of what Rodgers kind of wants to, is to bring some of his guys there, which doesn't surprise me since they flew over and met with Rodgers, and I bet this is how it goes. Hey, Rodgers, what do you want for you to come to the Jets? What can we do for you? I want this, this, and this. Okay.
I just wonder what this means for former Titan and current Jet Corey Davis.
That's exactly where I was going to go to.
Because I'm looking at their depth chart from last year. Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, Denzel Mims, obviously Garrett Wilson from Ohio State, Jeff Smith, Deontay Spencer, Irvin Charles, Braxton Berrios, who I think didn't something happen to him yesterday? Was he cut yesterday or was he?
Yeah, I believe he was offered to take a pay cut, but instead was given an opportunity to look elsewhere. Yeah.
But with this, because, I mean, if you're drawing a line to everything and you're thinking, okay, well, this means, Aaron Rodgers is going to New York because here's Lazard, one of his targets, if that, comes to pass. But I just wonder what that means for Corey Davis. Corey Davis left here a couple of years ago with a big contract, and I wonder if that would entertain maybe him coming back to the Titans.
I think if there is one wide receiver that Mike Vrabel would love to have back, bring him home. I'm serious. With the way that guy cares about run blocking.
Well, there's one receiver he'd like to have back.
Well, of course, yes. But realistic options that you can bring back.
How available was he the last couple of years with the Jets? Because I know he did deal with some things still. And that was one of the issues here towards the end before he got shipped out was we don't even know why he came out of that game against Baltimore, the playoff game. Remember?
Right.
So I was just curious. I didn't know how much.
I know he had some injury issues his first year in New York. Yeah, in 2021, his first year there, he only played 9 games.
Okay.
And had 34 catches for 492 yards, 4 touchdowns. Last year, he played in 13 games. But get this. 32 catches, 536, 2 touchdowns.
And that was with the quarterback carousel.
And to his defense, that's correct. But I'm sitting here going, that's way off the mark. So I just wonder what that's going to look like. We'll have to look at Spot and Track and see what the back end of his contract looks like.
I guarantee you that if there is another team that's going to be interested in Corey Davis, it's the same team that just traded for Jonnu Smith yesterday.
The Falcons.
The Atlanta Falcons and Arthur Smith.
And again, still have some money.
Yep.
Definitely. And that was the other interesting story yesterday because we just talked about Jonnu Smith yesterday morning. And then the Atlanta Falcons send a
7th-round pick.
2023 7th-round pick for Jonnu Smith, who had 294 yards in 2021 receiving and 245 yards in 2022. That was after a breakout performance with the Titans where he had 448 yards in 2020, but pair that with 9 touchdowns, including 1 rushing. And that was the projectability of Jonnu, who kind of like the moves you were mentioning Rand Carthon has made here.
Mm-hmm.
That's an elite athlete who was sitting behind Hunter Henry then in New England.
He wasn't being utilized at all the correct way.
Right, and that leaves a massive dead cap number for them, but it's clearly a salary dump when you're talking about him for a 7th-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually what the indicator is there. And he, as I tweeted, he gets a chance to flourish once again with his former offensive coordinator and now head coach Arthur Smith, who he had his best numbers under and worked with. Get this, Corey Davis, when he left here, he signed a 3-year deal. So 2023 is the last year of his deal. The dead money on that is only $666,000.
Oh, wow.
And his cap hits $11,166, so they can save nearly $10 million.
Yep.
That's why I'm just trying to piece all this together.
I think you're onto something there.
Yep.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Less than $750,000 in a dead hit? Okay.
And that's pre-June 1st, too. That's money you can immediately get because you don't really save you don't save any more money by waiting until June 1st to cut him. That's money you get now if you're New York that
you may need for the aforementioned Aaron Rodgers or whoever.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So that's interesting. Potentially, I mean, at this point, I'd be shocked if Corey Davis isn't available again.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you what, that is
Rich Cimini's saying that right now.
That is one that makes a ton of sense.
I'm nowhere near as big on that as you are.
Oh, I would love it.
Not at all.
I would absolutely love it.
Okay. There's a bunch of Corey Davises out there. So what?
But for what this franchise is enamored with at the wide receiver position, is there really another wide receiver that's going to block as much as he is and going to care as much about that phase of the game?
Here's the thing. I'm kind of over that, too.
I know you are, but the Titans aren't.
Well, and maybe that's the problem.
All right. Hang on a second here before we have violence in the show. What the one super quality that I would bring to the table is, first of all, Corey Davis is a great dude, and it's the continuity part. He knows what he's doing. He's been here before. Here we go. I mean, so he's got veteran experience, and I understand why you're saying what you're saying, Shafe. But that would be the one point I'd bring up is that he has familiarity.
Well, my point to all that is that at the right rate, sure. Again, it comes down to what rate can you get him for. But when it comes to availability of a player who missed time in 2021, didn't see a lot of time last year. Now, granted, that quarterback situation up there was dreadful.
Well, but what about a 1-year pretty friendly deal? What about that?
I just said, money-wise, sure. Absolutely.
1 year, $5
If it's a 1-year deal, I'd say I'm
Dad.
okay with it.
Yeah, 1-year deal, fine. Yeah, 1 year at whatever. But, I mean, you have Corey Davis. He's called NWI. You already have that.
Please don't pull a car over, Dad.
NWI is not a first-round pick.
I don't care that Corey Davis was a first-round pick. So what? He's now almost 29 years old. Yeah, for the right terms, absolutely.
This has been tough love.
I don't see being that enamored with him. He's fine. ... at the end of that. He's fine.
He's fine. He's a second or third wide receiver.
He's a 3.
I think
not a 2.
You would still need to draft in your first 2 picks a wide receiver if you're the Titans. It doesn't change a lot of your needs, but if this team needs what do we think? 3 wide receivers this offseason?
He's a guy.
He's 33% of the needs you have a wide receiver.
He's a guy.
Right there with
Do you have him more for the veteran leadership side of things, or do you just have him because you think he can actually contribute?
I think we learned quickly along those lines who Mike Vrabel may have wanted to keep over the past 2-3 seasons that he didn't win some of those arguments. I mean, that's my thinking on that. Is it feels like Mike Vrabel and Corey Davis had a pretty good relationship when he was here, and
because he blocked.
I'm probably
but the
on
Titans,
a lot of that.
But even if Vrabel wasn't head coach, they weren't going to sign Corey Davis to what the Jets signed to.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
So, again, great dude, good presence. Actually, 28. So excuse me when it comes to that. He's fine. But yeah, if you can do 1 year for Rhett, what would the market be? 6-7 million or higher than that?
Yeah, I would think if you're looking at that, it would be very similar to what you did with Austin Hooper last year.
I guess my interpretation of it is Corey Davis is going to come in and he's going to be another guy. I don't think he's going to make an impact that a former first-round pick you would like to have make. And I could be 100% wrong.
He's not a 1,000-yard receiver at this point in his career.
He only got close to reaching that one time.
I think you'd be similar to what Robert Woods was last season. The thing that I want to, emphasize for this team at the wide receiver position is don't bring in a career number 2 guy to be a number 2. I want this team to go get about 3 guys who could fit in as number 2s. I need more versatility and speed.
We're talking
at that
about
position.
depth in those things that we've been talking about too.
Because signing Robert Woods last year to help fill in for what you lost in A.J. Brown wasn't a bad idea. You just needed maybe another guy who could also have chipped in to that effort. Another Robert Woods. If you could clone him, I don't know.
That would have helped to have had an offensive coordinator that can scheme your guys open, too.
Well, there's also that. 615-737-1045, our number. One former Vol has a new landing spot. And a guy that we had discussed for Ramon Foster's former employer, who lands elsewhere at a new contender at the cornerback position that is getting a lot better quickly in the NFC. We discuss that next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
It is time to be filling out your brackets. Register today for 104.5 The Zone's $1 Million Bracket Challenge, sponsored by Party Foul for a chance to win $1 million. This is a local contest. Register today at 1045thezone.com.
One former Vol has a new home in the NFC North as we continue hour 2 under Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. Congrats to Cam Sutton. Man, what a career this guy has had at the cornerback position after spending some time under now, for a second time, current Tennessee defensive backs coach Willie Martinez on Josh Heupel's staff. 3 years, $30 million, $22.5 million guaranteed, giving the Detroit Lions some big help at the cornerback position and potentially making Detroit a player for the left tackle market as well, because they might not have a need at corner anymore at number 6 overall in the NFL draft.
First of all, Cam, good player, and nice payday for him. Happy for him on that. And smart of him to, I mean, look, Detroit, as funny as that might sound to some people, I think is a place that's going in the right direction. I like Dan Campbell at head coach. He reminds me a lot of that blue-collar, tough kind of guy like Mike Vrabel is, and I think people are certainly buying into what he's selling. I mean, you look at what they did with what they had last year. You know what, left tackle is a thing for them. I'm going to tell you another thing. I think they're in the market for a running back. Mm-hmm. I don't think they're in love with DeAndre Swift. Mm-hmm. They've been looking for a running back since their Hall of Famer retired in 1999, named Barry Sanders. And they probably feel like that is one of the things that can kind of put them over the hump offensively in trying to maintain possession, because Jared Goff, that's worked out to be a good trade for them.
Yeah.
He's a pretty doggone good quarterback. I mean,
this last year he showed.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the targets those guys got. So, you know, and Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the better young receivers in the league.
Yeah. Going back to Cam Sutton, too, I just thought, this is a smaller guy, too, right? Like 5'10".
Yep.
180-something pounds. But what's been so great about his career, why he's able to, get to the next level, he's just been available.
Yeah.
Like, he's played in almost every game in the last 6 seasons. Missed a couple, maybe.
Yep.
And at the cornerback position especially, you don't always see that.
Oh, and you played
with
for
a little
Mike
guy.
Tomlin.
Mm-hmm.
That's a biggie, Guys, no nonsense. So, yeah.
He joins a Lions defense that was not good at corner last year. Jeff Okudah, the kid from Ohio State, has not lived up to expectations they had for him.
Yeah.
They had 2 of the worst 10 outside corners in terms of yards per coverage snap in Mike Hughes and Jeff Okudah last year per NFL Next Gen Stats. Cam Sutton was on the other end of that spectrum, allowed 0.8 yards per coverage snap, which was 8th best among outside corners. I remember thinking that guy would move inside in the NFL because he is a little bit shorter and not quite as long. Mm-hmm. What he lacks in size and length at that position, he makes up for in just motor and work ethic.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
He is a very good success story out of the University of Tennessee, and continues to be a good recruiting pitch for Willie Martinez, a guy that is back at Tennessee in his second stint, like we mentioned. Detroit has picks number 6 and 18. Many have mocked pass rush for them, and Tyree Wilson is a popular pick for them, the kid out of Texas Tech. And Bijan Robinson might be an option for them.
At 18 for sure.
At 18 for sure, yeah.
Can you imagine adding him?
And I'm telling you, that's why I say what I said, because I knew they had the 2 picks that's left over, I guess, from the Matthew Stafford trade. And, yeah, I don't, as crazy as it may sound, I don't think Bijan Robinson goes past that 18th pick.
Nah.
And if he does, depending on what happens with Lamar Jackson, Baltimore may take him at 22.
It's funny that both trades now that have involved Jared Goff in his career, including the first one here with the Titans when the Titans gave up the number 1 overall pick to LA to pick Goff. Both times he's been traded, it's worked out for both teams. I mean, it worked out for LA the original time. LA got their quarterback. The Titans got a King's ransom, and got Jack Conklin at the time.
That's true.
We're able to add a lot of day 2 and 3 guys who ended up being contributors out of that trade. And then now the second time he's been traded, the Lions got Matthew Stafford and won a Super Bowl.
Yep.
And the
LA,
Rams, of course.
yeah.
The Rams got Matthew Stafford, won a Super Bowl. The Lions got a King's ransom of picks and got a decent quarterback, and now have the option to build an entire offense and defense. I mean, it's a rare trade that worked out really well for both teams.
I think Dan Campbell's a good coach.
Yeah.
He is. And I think initially, guys, I think they looked at the Jared Goff thing and was, oh, Jared, he's going to get stuck in Detroit. You know, he's a Cali guy, Cali kid. That first year was not good. But that's what happens when you're kind of, in a way, rebuilding and you got a new head coach and you got to set an identity. So it was good to see them give him
Seems
a little
like he
time.
embraced it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
615-737-1045 is our number at halftime of the show. And coming up in hour 3, we chat with the Athletics' David Ubben on a little bit of college football, plus the quarterback draft that certainly is its own conversation as free agency begins yesterday. And coming up next, the busiest teams of the NFL. There are 3 in particular. We've already talked a little bit about the Chicago Bears. What about the Denver Broncos? And Sean Payton wasting no time surrounding Russell Wilson with lots of help. Boy, does he need it. Coming up next as hour 3 begins on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
7:59. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. According to ESPN's Todd Archer, linebacker Luke Gifford has agreed to a 2-year deal worth up to $5 million with the Titans. Gifford led the Cowboys in special teams tackles in 2022, and his coaches believed he could handle a larger role on defense. He will be doing that now, reportedly, with the Titans. Guard Nate Davis, no longer a Titan, agreed to a 3-year, $30 million deal with the Bears, with just over $19 million guaranteed. Another now former Titan agreed to a deal with the Bears, defensive end DeMarcus Walker. That deal reportedly 2 years, $14 million. Linebacker David Long Jr. looks like he's going to the Miami Dolphins on a 2-year, $11 million deal. Titans did address their need at offensive tackle, signing former Eagle Andre Dillard to a 3-year, $29 million deal. That is the terms of the agreement. That would not be official until tomorrow when the league starts their new league year. Two of the first 4 games tonight in the NCAA men's college basketball tournament. Southeast Missouri State taking on Texas A&M Corpus Christi. We will join that game in progress following 3HL. Then it's Pittsburgh versus Mississippi State. NIT basketball, Yale at Vanderbilt, 8 o'clock tip at Memorial Gym. To the NHL, Red Wings at the Predators, 7 o'clock, the face-off at Bridgestone Arena. Wrong foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home of the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5, The Zone.
And to the second half of the show as hour number 3 continues on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. And it's powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. No Ramon Foster, but we've subbed in the executive producer of Titans Radio, Rhett Bryan.
The Indianapolis Colts.
Right there. A lot of that and much, much more this week and this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Kayla Anderson, of course. Ooh.
Kayla.
Ooh.
Da.
And Jonathan Schaefer spinning that hit and all the others.
Love
the
it.
best producer in the world.
Don't ever call him second best or third best. Only the best producer in the world. And my name is Will Bowley. Choosing violence for 4 hours a day right here on RK Dub.
Woo!
John Cena.
Is Champ there? Find out this Wednesday night on anyway.
John Cena's coming back for WrestleMania.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, I'm here for that one.
Heck yeah.
Won't be able to see him, but he'll be here.
It's good. For a non-wrestling guy, that's
For a
good.
non-wrestling guy,
You
I got
did
you.
good.
Really got you.
Good job, Chief.
Ever since there's a former Lady Vol track star that has joined WWE, I've been
Bianca
more
Belair.
interested. That's right. Anyway,
She's big time.
she is big time.
Holds one of the belts right now.
That's right. The big news this morning, of course, Andre Dillard, former Philadelphia Eagle, reportedly becoming a Tennessee Titan. 3 years, $29 million. A guy that has played some left tackle in Philadelphia, has played some guard from time to time. 22nd overall pick out of Washington State. Shout out Kayla Anderson. Number 22 overall in the 2019 NFL draft. Woo! Wow.
There it is.
There's that. That was in Nashville.
The Washington State Cougar.
6'5", 315 pounds. That joins the offensive line room here in Tennessee.
And he is active on, you cannot find him on Twitter, because I think even Taylor Lewan was trying to go give
Sorry, you can't
him a
find
shout
Jeffrey
out.
Simmons there anymore either.
You cannot, but you can find Andre Dillard on Instagram, and he is already sharing stories about him headed to Tennessee. So
Love it.
he seems excited and ready to roll.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday where Taylor was like publicly congratulating him and saying, "Hey, if anybody has his, has his Twitter, Like you could just send a text and get the guy's number and text him.
Taylor.
We don't need
Come
to see
on,
it.
are we doing this? Like, you have better connections than we do.
Looking
okay?
back at his combine performance here, just thinking about him coming out of the draft that year. Yeah, 6'5", 315, arms 33 and a half, hands 10 inches, 40 and 4.96. Anything sub 5 for a big fella is pretty good. 10-yard split, which is really where it counts for an offensive lineman because that's where his work is done in the trenches. The mark of a good, fast with footwork guy is around a minute and a second, 1.72 seconds, 1.74 right there, 1.69 in his first 10 yards. 29-inch vert, broad jump of 9 feet 10 inches, 3-cone drill just a shade over 7 seconds, bench press 24 times at 225, and his 20-yard shuttle at 4.4. So, I mean, the numbers are there when he came out of the draft for sure. You can understand why he was a first-round pick.
And he was there with Mike Leach and Gardner Minshew when Gardner had one of his best. I think he broke the record at Washington State for passing yards, which happens a lot in a Mike Leach system, the great late Mike Leach, I might add. But that was one of the highly regarded offensive lines, too, in that period of time at Washington State back in 2018, 2019.
The old air raid.
Yep.
615-737-1045, our number. David Ubben of The Athletic joins us in 15 minutes. Get his thoughts on the quarterback draft, on some college football headlines, and on whether or not he is also buying into the Andy Staples, Joe Milton for Heisman platform, which Andy discussed with us on Friday.
Maliava.
Him
there
too. But first, we go to Alvin in Nashville, up next on the phone lines with us this morning. What's going on, Alvin?
How you doing?
We're good.
Good.
Hey, I got a couple of questions. What do y'all think about as far as Ray was talking about getting faster? What about a DJ Shark? Mm-hmm. Also, I know he's under contract, but I've been hearing about Shaq Mason maybe getting released or something like that. What do y'all think about him coming or coming back to Tennessee or whatever? Also, my last thing, do y'all think that the reason why maybe like some of these players like David Long and the guard Nate Davis, Verber called them out during the season. I know money is everything, but Verber called them out during the season about soft tissues and all that stuff. Do you think it mattered as far as if they wanted to sign back with the Titans or whatever? I'll hang up on this.
Yeah, appreciate the call.
All right, Alan, let's take the last one first. I understand what you're saying that, did that make a decision to them to go ahead and leave and listen to other offers other than the team that they played for? Don't know if that's a factor, but he did call them out. And as we've been saying, availability and speed are the couple of things he's been harping on in this offseason. So don't know if that's a thing or not. As far as the speed with a receiver, DJ Chark would be a nice addition. Mecole Hardman would be a really nice addition who is super fast. So those are options. What was his middle question or comment?
Shaq Mason.
Shaq Mason. Yeah, it's reported that he's going to be released from, who's he with, Tampa?
Yep.
I understand why people want to draw a line to that, and maybe that is a thing. I think he's 30 years old, and he's a Columbia Central High School from Murray County native.
That's right.
Won a world championship ring with the New England Patriots before he went to Tampa. And that would be a veteran, a nice veteran addition who's a local guy.
I thought it was interesting too. I'm not opposed to the Jerry Jeudy. That's what I'm about to talk about, the DJ Chark thing. But I also had seen a report out there yesterday about the Broncos, how much they're adding to that team. There was also talk about them shopping some of their wide receivers, which does include Jerry Jeudy,
Courtland Sutton,
and
KJ Hamler.
Yeah, and Jeudy is the speed factor. You
right.
love that, but I feel like Sutton is also had a decent career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that'd be interesting to see if that develops more too, because then those guys could potentially be available.
Absolutely. They could. And here we go. This is going to...
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Let's play devil's advocate for a second. What if they wanted to trade?
Yeah.
You know what they need?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do they need, Kayla?
Yeah, RB, I believe, running back.
Yeah, they do.
Uh-oh.
Because Javonte Williams, apparently, I saw a report not long after the season was over that he had multiple tears of multiple ligaments and that it's going to be a while. And, yeah, so could you see Derrick Henry going to another AFC team? I don't know.
I don't know, too, but that's definitely got to put that out there.
But I just, with how active they were yesterday, and I guess it depends on where Sean Payton's value is on that position. Does he need more of an Alvin Kamara type, or would he take a big power back like Derrick?
Mm-hmm.
Speaking hypothetically, folks.
Sure. I think at this point, you've made your veteran move on the offensive line. You could fill up the rest of the holes except for one with guys currently on your roster. And I think now, if you're going to fill another member of the starting offensive line this offseason with somebody new, I think it's going to be someone young on a rookie deal that you're going to draft. I think left guard is somebody you're looking to pick in rounds, 1, 2, 3, whatever it is. You can find interior offensive linemen at a premium on day 2 and 3 that can start for you day 1. Nate Davis was that as a third-round pick.
That's correct, out of Charlotte.
Right. So that is certainly interesting. DJ Chark is an interesting guy because at 6'4", you don't find a lot of guys that run 4.34 in the 40.
Right.
No.
But you look at the injuries that he's had. He's been injured his whole career. Had a broken ankle. Again, not soft tissue. You can deal with breaks more so than you can deal with the soft tissue nagging, hamstring, groin, stuff like that pops up from time to time. But he was an alternate for the Pro Bowl in 2019 with 73 catches, 1,008 yards, and 8 touchdowns, and was decent for Detroit. It was an option behind Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was terrific when he was healthy last year. So that is certainly one of the names I'm interested in. But I've been on the record so far that McCole Hardman is my pick.
That's your guy.
That is the guy that I want. A guy that can help you in the return game as well, that's dynamic with the ball in his hands.
You're talking legit track speed now.
100%. Heck, I remember when he was a recruit and Tennessee was in the final 2 with Georgia for that guy. And the day that he chose Georgia was a sad day in Knoxville. Because they wanted that guy and they wanted Kyle Davis, who was the number 1 receiver in the country, who ended up going to Auburn, had one season and then had some off-the-field stuff and never really played again. So, anyway, that was talking recruiting from back when I was in college at Tennessee. But McCole Hardman has been that guy since high school and had quite a career at Georgia as well. One deal that was announced just a couple of minutes ago from Ian Rappaport, reported last night. Now the numbers coming out on Eric Kendricks and his deal with the Los Angeles Chargers. Pretty good deal for L.A. 2 years worth $13.25 million.
Yeah.
For Eric Kendricks, that's impressive. That's very impressive.
That is good. Speaking of linebackers, just with a lot of guys not being back here in Tennessee, including Cunningham and now David Long Jr., Rhett, I'm just curious. So do they go draft in that, or do they just go pick up some guy? Because these guys are going fast.
Yeah, and you look at the top shelf guys, Bobby Okereke.
Yeah.
Signed a big deal reportedly, and Obo Okoronkwo, I think, was another one that moved on. So, I'm sure there's another tier of free agent linebackers we haven't really looked at. But, yeah.
There's some good ones in the draft, though, too, if you could get one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly are. And Bobby Okereke, by the way, was the guy when Pat McAfee went on his rant trying to roast Titans fans at the 2019 draft. That was the guy the Colts were picking at the time. And then ever since then, the Colts haven't really had a lot of success against the Tennessee Titans, have they? Crazy.
Well,
they signed a kicker, though.
The story that I thought was interesting about Bobby Okereke is I think he signed with reportedly is going to sign with the Jets, who he had a 17 tackle performance against last year. So there's your case. It's like, hey, can't beat them, join them.
That's right. Has the Colts when's the last time the Colts beat the Titans in Indy? Not since then. Because 2019, the Titans won the long Khalif Raymond catch and the Joshua Kalu blocked field goal. 2020, the Colts won in Nashville and the Titans won in Indy. Then 2021 and 2022. So ever since Pat McAfee had that speech when they drafted Bobby Okereke, the Colts haven't beaten the Titans at Indy. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. Speaking of Pat McAfee.
You, Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, really? Huh. Interesting.
But by the way, I look back at McCole Hardman's combine, 4.3340. 36 and a half inch vertical leap.
It's pretty quick.
And that's for a guy that's 5'10", 187.
Woo! That's pretty quick.
Moving.
Speedy.
That'll play for sure. Coming up next, David Ubben of The Athletic joins the conversation with us as we go into the quarterback draft with him and how different will college football look in the near future with proposed rule changes, and then how different will it look long term? He discussed that in his most recent mailbag on The Athletic. Good stuff with David as always. Anytime he's able to join us, which we'll do coming up next. Under Mo, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
This is Kayla Anderson for our good friends at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. They are a proud Rude Pro partner and Mitsubishi partner as well. And guess what? They've got lots of March specials because March, we still have a couple weeks left. So get in on it while you can. It is getting hot early this year, although we are hitting a little bit of a cold spell here. But if you haven't already booked your spring tune-up for your AC unit, why don't you go ahead and do that now? Through the month of March, you can get your AC tuned up for just $79 and get the fall tune-up for free. Can't beat that. Did you turn on your AC unit, a couple weeks ago and realize when it was like 80 degrees here, it wasn't working like it should? Don't wait until the peak of summer to get it repaired, folks, because summer comes here like that. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling offers free service calls with their repairs, plus low monthly payments on those repairs. And guess what? They are our really good friends. We've met with them, we've had dinner with them, and they really live by that motto. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling is family owned and operated, a company with over 20 years of experience. The Spring Hill Heating and Cooling family responding promptly to your issues. They get the problems resolved quickly and accurately, and they've been here for so long. Like I was saying, they're not going anywhere, so you can count on them being your company. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, they are the heating and cooling company that can take care of all of your HVAC needs. You can check them out on the website, www.springhillac.com.
Tuesday morning edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will, and it's powered by our friends at All Four Seasons Garage Doors. The sounds of Lil Bow Wow mean that one of our favorites is back on with us.
Let's go.
David Ubben of The Athletic joining us this morning on the show with Rhett Bryan filling in for Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson. I'm Will Bowling as we welcome David Ubben onto the show this morning. What's going on, David? How are you?
Well, I'm doing all right. How are you guys doing? Thanks for having me on.
Good.
David, we are good, and I'm good despite all of the people making comparisons when March Madness starts of, well, why don't we just have a, 60-team college football playoff bracket kind of system? Is there anything you hate more this time of the year than that conversation?
Well, the thing about that whole conversation is Mike Leach campaigned for that for years and years and years and years, I think because he was always coaching at places at the outskirts. So that conversation, obviously, with Mike leaving us in December, I almost have a new tolerance for it because it reminds me of all the things that he brought to college football. But yes, never a good idea.
Yeah, whoever's still alive and standing by the end of it, I guess, would win the national championship in that scenario. David, over the last couple of weeks, over the quarterback draft that happens independent of the other prospects of the NFL draft, when you look at the four guys at the top of this thing, how many valuable takeaways do you take from the last month from the NFL Combine experience? Where are you with these guys coming out of very different programs in different spots in the top four?
I'm not crazy about any of them. I think if it was up to me, I would take Bryce Young first. I think in general, the Anthony Richardson conversation confuses me because, I get that all the athleticism jumped off at the Combine, but at the same time, anybody who's watched him for the last year and a half, you saw that he's obviously a special athlete. The issue is never the athleticism. I mean, he's outrunning people. He's running for 80-yard touchdowns. He's, hurdling guys. Like anything we saw at Indy, you could see if you turned on the tape the last year and a half. The issue, obviously, has been the accuracy. I think you could fix decision-making. I think you could fix, processing, all those things. So I don't quite understand what people saw in Indy that they couldn't see on tape that's made his stock go up. So, I think all these guys are really risky to me. I think I'd probably take C.J. Stroud, right behind Bryce Young. Probably Levis third and Richardson behind him. But for me, Bryce is the only guy who I'd bet on as having a really great NFL career.
We always chat about this because this is one of the Titans' needs is clearly kind of getting some depth in that wide receiver room. This just looks like the draft, though, that doesn't have as much talent at that position as it has in the past. What do you see out of this class, and who in particular do you feel like could be a good grab even in that second, third round?
I'm with you. I don't love a lot of these receivers. I actually, in general, I think last year you saw that there wasn't really a huge standout receiver, in this class that really sort of jumped off the tape at you. Mm-hmm. I think, at the end of the day, you're going to have to take, somebody. I think obviously those Ohio State guys are pretty good. And, I don't think Quentin Johnson's going to be around at that point. But, I like Zay Flowers. His route running ability has been really impressive the last couple of years. But, nobody – I'm not crazy about anybody. I thought Xavier Hutchinson had some pretty good plays at Iowa State. But Iowa State had a somewhat checkered past with, Alan Lazard had some success, but Hakeem Butler did some special things, and he didn't really turn out in the NFL. So this is an underwhelming receiver class to me.
Where you feel like Will Anderson will go, just being that valuable at that position and with his track record in college, and looks like he could have one of those long-standing NFL careers. What's the best fit you think early on for him?
Well, I guess it depends on what teams see. I mean, if it were me, I understand the quarterback market and the silliness of the NFL draft and how valuable those guys are, after they're drafted, those contracts and all that stuff. But for me, I think Will Anderson and Jalen Carter are probably the two best prospects in this entire draft. I mean, if if you're sitting there and Will Anderson is still available at like 7 or 8, you should count your blessings.
You think Carter falls just because of the recent issues with him? I mean, because there's some, people saying he could fall out of the top 10.
I don't think so. I think people just want to talk. I think it's the NFL. It's not a serious charge, and people can talk about character and talk about all that stuff, but when the rubber meets the road, what happens on the field is what matters. So, people might not like it, but I'll be surprised if Jalen Carter falls at all because of all this stuff.
David, let's talk some Vols prospects in this. And I feel like regardless that, he is not able to work out and do anything, Hendon Hooker has helped himself tremendously by being invited as a special one-off to the Senior Bowl and be involved in that, and then also doing all the interviews in the Combine. It's in my opinion that he's the 5th quarterback behind the first big 4 in this thing.
Yeah, that seems probable. I think ultimately he checks off a lot of the intangibles that you'd want. I think for me, what I'd be nervous about is if you look at the history of the quarterbacks who have played in this Baylor offense, it's not great. Because I think the way I always compare it when people ask me is it's like spending, he was only at Tennessee obviously for 2 years and had some pretty modest results at Virginia Tech, but it's like mastering Japanese and then moving to France. It's just you might be able to figure it out. You've learned the language. You've done some things. You've proven you can do some things, but you're going to have to do something very, very different. The air raid concepts, we've seen people, add some of those concepts to the NFL, but this is a very different offense. This is not the air raid. This offense just does not really translate to the NFL. So, obviously, if you can deliver the ball, he was really accurate, he was really poised. There's a lot of those things that will translate. But, I just think this offense has been around college football for, 15 years now, and we just have not seen a ton of quarterbacks have a lot of success at the next level coming out of this kind of offense. So all those intangibles and all those things I think can really serve him well. But at the end of the day, history is a pretty powerful indicator, and he's got a lot to prove. Just because you've seen, obviously, quarterbacks, receivers, offensive linemen really struggle trying to translate from having success in this scheme into the next level.
Cedric Tillman and Jalen Hyatt aside, Darnell Wright is someone who I believe has improved his stock in this thing and could be the first right tackle taken. What have you seen in his process this spring?
Well, I think he really grew up, the last year and a half. I mean, obviously he played a ton of football at Tennessee, and it's sort of the same thing. He played in some different systems, obviously, before Josh Heupel's arrival, and looked okay. But he really, he had a really breakout season this last year, and obviously it's done really well. He impressed a lot of people at the Senior Bowl, and obviously, you look at the tape last year and the way he played against Will Anderson and in the big games, people are going to be impressed with that. So I like him. I think, again, I just have a lot of questions about this offense. I mean, you look to offensive linemen who come out of this system contrasted pretty high, and it doesn't work out. It's very, very different. So that's the big question I have there, but certainly a guy that's helped himself and is probably going to be hearing his name called pretty early.
David Ubben, our guest from The Athletic this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. David, with proposed rule changes and pace of play, a big talking point in college football moving forward, with a bunch of changes on the horizon, how different will these rule changes make college football look in the near future?
I don't think very different. I think I understand the complaints about game length. I think that's important for people. But, the things that would actually help, shortening halftime, shortening commercial breaks, TV timeouts, is never going to happen. So I don't think it's going to affect a ton. I mean, you're going to take away plays that are going to magically disappear. I think the thing that would have really impacted strategy is running the clock after incompletions. I don't think that was something that coaches really wanted. So I think people, will get used to it, and I don't think it'll be too much of a disruption come fall.
David, as more rumors come out, too, about the protected opponents coming in the new SEC and 3 protected games and 6 that are rotating every year, will Nick Saban get his way, in your opinion, and avoid protected games against Tennessee, Auburn, and LSU every year?
I don't think so because the SEC likes making money and making sure that Alabama has those marquee games every year, is very attractive. And no, I don't think so. I mean, I think ultimately, you're going to play 9 SEC games, and I know people are up in arms about the protected games, but it's all going to come out in the wash eventually. You're going to have, if you play those 3 really tough games, you're probably going to draw a lot more Vanderbilt than other teams do, and play a lot more of the teams that just have not had a lot of historic success in the SEC. When you get those 6 games, I think it'll all even out over time. So, people can get mad about the protected rivalries, but I just, the schedules are going to even out. So, no, I don't think so. But I think they want to make sure they have those big games and those things to sell to TV networks.
David, I'm curious with the conferences just ever evolving and additions to conferences. We're going to see it here in the SEC with Oklahoma and Texas. You're going to see it in the Big Ten in the near future with UCLA and USC. So about like a conference like the Pac-12 or the Big 12, maybe shuffling things around, what's your honest opinion or just gut feeling that's going to happen with those two conferences? Or do you think the Pac-12 is going to disintegrate?
You talk about the Pac-12 and the Big 12 right now?
Yeah.
The big picture? I mean, it all comes down to the TV deal. I mean, that's the Pac-12 has found not a lot of suitors. I wrote about this a little bit last week. If you look at the 30 most watched college football teams last year at average TV ratings, the Pac-12 had one team in the top 30, and that was Oregon. And they had one game that had over 4 million viewers over, I think it was 25 or 26 games, something like that. And it was Oregon against the national champion, Georgia Bulldogs, losing by 46 points. That's not great.
Yeah.
If you take, obviously, USC and UCLA. The Big 12 last year had 4 teams in the top 30. Obviously, TCU in that, Oklahoma State, Baylor, and I want to say Kansas State as well, an average viewership. So, obviously, when you look at when you're taking that to market, and, of course, you look at the Big 12 TV deal, nobody's really a huge fan of the streaming aspect of when you talk about a lot of ESPN Plus games. Nobody loves that. But, when you're talking about putting games on Apple Plus and, we'll see what happens with the Pac-12 TV deal, it all comes down to the money. And if people are not that impressed with the money, you're looking at those 4 corner schools, you're going to have to look in the mirror and say, hey, it's probably greener pastures for us in the Big 12. I mean, people can talk about all the factors and, partnerships and why they want to go to leagues or leave leagues. But, for pretty much the entirety of all these conference moves, it's about money. And right now, the Pac-12 is in perilous position. And then until the sort of, the real nuts and bolts of this Pac-12 deal are done, if George Kliavkoff can pull a route out of his hat, he can probably save the league and get some cash and make everybody happy. But if not, people are going to follow the money. That's how all these moves are happening. It's why Texas and Oklahoma are coming to the SEC. It's why Colorado left the Big 12 in the first place, and it's why they're going to possibly go back. I mean, this is the tale as old as time. So, money talks.
David Ubben of The Athletic has been our guest this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. At David Ubben is where you can find him on Twitter. David, great to catch up with you, man. Always enjoy it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. There's David Ubben with us this morning on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline as we continue Hour 3. And I think the only thing that is harder to find in the future than Pac-12 football on TV is live golf.
There we go.
And that's on the CW. So I would almost,
great comparison.
I would almost just rather Pac-12 football be on a streaming platform than a television show that usually just shows like One Tree Hill and Smallville reruns.
Yeah,
How dare you slander One Tree Hill?
I just like to catch. I'd like to catch a couple games once in a while without it being something that I had to pay an arm and a leg for an awful platform.
Yeah, coming up next after Oregon and Oregon State, it's Smallville on the CW.
Wow.
God. Anyway, I loved the CW when I was a kid and had Saturday morning cartoons on, but ever since then, I watched Live Golf a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I had to download the CW app on my Apple TV to watch on a CW Plus stream, and that's how I knew I needed help.
No thanks.
Yep. Okay.
Not happening.
First world problem, sir.
And that was Talking Golf on 104.5 The Zone. Coming up next,
Hey there, it's Kayla Anderson. You know, we all wake up with those aches and pains, especially during the cold winter months. But guess what? I found a solution. Old School Vapor, hands down the most knowledgeable staff when it comes to helping me get relief, as it does to my co-host Ramon Foster, who is a former professional athlete and has all those aches and pains. So as soon as you walk into one of these beautiful stores, there's somebody to greet you, guide you in the right direction. If you're a pet owner, bonus, they have so many choices for your fur babies. Maybe they have separation anxiety. Maybe you travel with your pets a lot and you just need them to keep calm. You can check them out with all of their different things for your fur babies. Go to Old School Vapor Selection. Like I said, over 200 legal CBD products from brands like Looper, Torch, Hidden Hills, and much more. And if you use Elf Bars, they've got those. Old School Vapor, over 100 authentic flavors, Escobars, everything you can think of. Check them out on Instagram. You can also Google them right now, Old School Vapor, to find your nearest location. There are 4 convenient spots: Franklin, both ends of Spring Hill, Columbia, and guess what? There are more to come. That is Old School Vapor. And remember, these products contain nicotine, which is an addictive chemical, must be 21 years or older to purchase, and no sales to minors.
Join 104.5 The Zone for the 82nd running of the Iroquois Steeplechase, presented by Bank of America. That's coming up Saturday, May 13th, Percy Warner Park. Make tailgating a breeze by purchasing tickets to join us inside the all-inclusive Champions Center. For more information or to purchase tickets, go to 1045thezone.com.
Ah, yes, the sounds of One Tree Hill from Gavin DeGraw. On Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors on 104.5 The Zone.
Was he the one that sang the anthem at Bridgestone Arena and then fell down, or was that...
Oh.
Was it him, or was it like
What?
Jack somebody, or who was it that fell down?
Was he drinking?
I think
feel
it was
like you
Gavin
might be
DeGraw.
right.
I
have to look it
don't
up.
want to be anything other than what I've been.
Maybe he had gone.
He
He had gone to his. Yeah, that was him. Gavin DeGraw slips and falls after singing national anthem.
He just slipped on the ice and felt bad for the guy.
In 2019. Good year, 2019.
It's amazing it doesn't happen more often.
Get some traction on those shoes.
Oh, are you seriously going to be hating on him as he fell on ice?
Well, maybe he'd gone to his
extra
Broadway
careful.
bar. He'd gone to his Broadway bar before singing
You
the
don't
anthem.
know that.
I don't know.
He has a Broadway bar?
We
Yeah.
don't need a slander.
Underground.
We don't need a slander lawsuit.
That's
here.
Gavin
Come on.
DeGraw.
I'm sorry, what?
Wow.
Underground is Gavin DeGraw, yeah.
I did not know that.
I was today years old when I heard this from Will Bowling.
I don't know if I want to say what the nickname we had for Underground
Nope.
was or not.
Nope.
Don't do that.
Was it great?
Let's not get in trouble.
Don't need that.
Turns out Gavin DeGraw's got himself a watering hole on Broadway.
Oh, God. I haven't been there in a long time.
Okay.
I don't want to go back.
Okay, that's good. You don't have to.
Respectfully.
We're good.
So before I was rudely interrupted by the best producer in the world, before the break, I was going to tell the people off of our college football conversation with David Ubben that there is only one college football spring game that's going to air on ESPN this year.
Okay.
And it is not a team that you expect.
Okay.
Which that was going to be my clickbaity tease going into the break. But now I'll just say it now, and then I'm going to immediately tell you.
I'm going to guess.
Let's do it.
Okay.
UAB.
No. But that's a good guess, though.
Yeah.
Is it in the South?
No.
Ooh.
Not in the South. According to a certain podcast, this is a southern city. It's a long-standing joke, and pardon my take, that they accidentally called this state a southern state when talking. Anyway, it's not really that funny. One college football program with a high-profile coach.
Ooh.
An Alabama spring game is airing at the same time and will be on ESPN+.
Oh, Colorado.
The Colorado Buffaloes.
Ding, 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 ding.
Coach Prime.
Coach Prime will be on ESPN. While
course
the
it will
Alabama
be.
Crimson Tide, who couldn't beat Josh Heupel last year, will be playing on ESPN+. I wonder if Alabama had been able to beat Tennessee, maybe they would get the big network. Huh. Anyway.
Wow.
615-737-1045 our number. Thought that was interesting.
That is interesting. What Prime has just already got his hands on everything, doesn't he?
Sure seems that way.
It's going to be a spectacle. Couple of deals involving offensive linemen to get to. The former Columbia Central Lion, Shaq Mason, is on the move for a late-round pick swap, a 6th rounder for a 7th rounder, as Shaq Mason heads to the AFC South and the Houston Texans. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then Adam Schefter tweeting, one day after he announced he would return for another season, Pro Bowl center Jason Kelce and the Philadelphia Eagles reached agreement on a 1-year, $14.25 million deal per sources.
You think that was like he just wanted to get it done, and he
I
felt
think
like
so.
they can do it again?
I don't think that he wouldn't have wanted to go anywhere else and restart again for what's probably one final year.
Mm-hmm.
But Jason Kelce, a guy who, if the Eagles end up winning the Super Bowl, probably is retired at this point, who comes back and, according to Jeremy Fowler, with a max value of $14.75 million, remains the highest paid center in the league. That's a tough position to play into your 30s and continue to play at a high level.
Sure.
And he is in the twilight of his career, and he is still the best center in football.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Much more to get to this morning. We reset a couple of the Titans headlines that we'll get to coming up here in a little bit. We talked about some of the busiest teams in the league, the highest spenders. Tease this going into hour 3 as well, that the Denver Broncos, we had talked about Mike McGlinchey, 5 years, $87.5 million. Ravens left guard Ben Powers, who comes over there for 4 years, $52 million.
Mm-hmm.
Jaguars tight end Chris Manhertz, 2 years, $6 million.
Say what hurts?
What?
Excuse me?
That is a thing.
That is his name. That is his God-given Christian name.
But where does he hurt?
Okay.
Man, hurts.
And then they also added Jarrett Stidham for 2 years, $10 million behind Russell Wilson if that inevitably crashes and burns
Jarrett
again.
Stidham,
War Eagle.
Auburn legend.
who had spent his time with the Las Vegas Raiders recently.
That's right. Yeah, that's a guy that's, I don't know. You talk to Auburn people, and they're pretty split on him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he could have been a lot better when he was at Auburn.
Yeah.
I don't know. Auburn fans are kind of split on everybody that's played quarterback for them recently.
And was he originally drafted by the Patriots, though?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's been a quick couple places
Are you
before.
saying that he may be
Oh.
I would.
Not a starter.
He played for the biggest Nathaniel head coach and Josh McNathaniels.
Well, the biggest Nathaniel head coach is actual Nathaniel Hackett.
Well,
the
yeah,
biggest.
but he's the head coach.
He's the Nathaniel.
But I'd put Josh right there.
Yeah.
Josh McNathaniel. Josh McDaniels.
Good ring.
What if Josh McDaniels leads to Jack Daniels?
I think for a lot
Just
of people
asking.
in Las Vegas.
I think so.
Excuse me?
Yeah, exactly.
Coming up in hour 4, this show will no longer.
How? How is that racist? Come on, man.
That's Schaefer's new favorite drop on the
It
show.
really is.
We have way too much fun with that.
It makes no sense most of the time.
I was going to say, we weren't talking
Is
about
that racist.
We weren't talking about
that's
Mason
what's
Rudolph.
funny.
Like Mason Rudolph did not enter this discussion. Anyway. Coming up next, the show loses its roof.
Show ain't got no roof.
Nothing else we
partner.
need to say. Ron Slade joins us at 9:20. We reset the Titans headlines. Talk a little bit of college hoops and March Madness with the first 4 starting tonight. With Ron Slade coming up in hour 4. 4's up. Ramon, Kale, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
9:01. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. According to ESPN's Todd Archer, linebacker Luke Gifford has agreed to a 2-year deal worth up to $5 million with the Titans. Gifford led the Cowboys in special teams tackles in 2022, and his coaches at the time believed he could handle larger roles on defense. Guard Nate Davis agreed to a 3-year, $30 million deal with the Bears. Just over $19 million guaranteed. Also going to the Bears, Titans defensive end DeMarcus Walker, 2 years, $14 million. Linebacker David Long Jr. agreeing to a 2-year, $11 million deal with the Miami Dolphins. The Titans did address their need at offensive tackle with former Eagle Andre Dillard, 3 years, $29 million, the reported deal. 2 of the first 4 games in the NCAA men's tournament tonight. Southeast Missouri State taking on Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Will join that game in progress following 3HL. Pittsburgh taking on Mississippi State, the game following that. Yale at Vanderbilt, NIT at Memorial Gym, 8 o'clock to tip. NBA last night, Memphis 104, Dallas 88 to the ice at Bridgestone Arena this evening. Red Wings at Predators, 7 o'clock to face-off. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5, The Zone.
It's the 4th and final hour, and as always, it's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, alongside Rhett Bryan, the official, the executive, the #1 Titans radio producer in the world, Kayla Anderson, our capitalized J journalist, and the best producer in the world, Jonathan Schaefer, making the show happen. Ramon Foster on his spring break, loafing. Could have had his analysis on offensive linemen, but no, not today. I don't see any scenario of that happening. That too. I'm Will Bowling. Have you ever heard that one before?
Oh, no, I have. It's just still funny.
Good.
It is.
It's
so
still
good.
funny.
There it is.
Oh, boy.
The
Ron
good thing
Slay
is,
coming up in 15 minutes.
I was going to say, we're going to be talking about offensive linemen, guys, for like the next 2 months.
You know what's been great?
What's
Not
been
spending a lot of time talking about offensive line.
You know, I didn't even have to pay for that, y'all. I just let it happen. Well.
Sometimes
maybe
we just do.
We just
do.
Do what you want when you pop it. That's right.
Okay.
Cool, 904.
It's kind of the point where I don't want to be entertaining on this show just so it can't be used against me. And I realize that by saying that will be used against me, but it's okay.
Got 2 out of that.
I feel like if you really wanted to, though, you could take just every word we say out of context and just form complete sentences.
Of course you can. And the magic of editing.
Oh, yeah. Schaefer did that with one of my drops.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah. Hold, please. We'll go find that one.
He did. Yeah. Sure did.
No shame.
The next time that I talk golf, you're just going to start using other sentences that I've said.
No, I'm just
going to
do this.
Shut off his mic.
My mic was off.
Golf.
Golfity golf.
Today also is Pie Day.
Yes.
We should have had Josh Dobbs on today.
Oh.
So you can go through like 20 different digits of
I don't want that pie.
Of
I want
pie.
pie.
Well, this was one in Go Explorers, Edmondson Elementary School, that they would have.
Go Explorers.
They would have us bring in actual pies for Pie Day in math class.
Someone will have a pizza deal that will pop up on my phone saying that because it's Pie Day, you can get a pizza for whatever. Somebody will have that.
All right, so here was the one that was out of context with Kayla.
Straight. Get your straight.
Oh, my goodness.
Right?
Wow.
I never said that on the show. Get your straight. But
you were saying something
that's
else.
what he put together.
That's right.
So you're saying get your stuff straight.
Yeah, I heard what I heard.
But that's...
Get your straight.
Right.
Stop.
I heard what I heard.
No, I knew it wasn't a curse word. I could tell it was stuff.
Not Kayla. That would be Kyla.
Freaking bum.
That's right.
Kyla. You don't want Kyla to come out.
Brett, you know my hot take on food is that I don't like apple pie, right? If we had this discussion.
And you don't like warm foods.
I don't like warm fruit.
And you're American?
I am American.
My goodness.
I like a lot of soccer, but I am American.
Yeah. Hey, Will.
Get your straight.
You don't like apple pie. Wow.
I love any other kind of pie. Like chess pie, fudge pie.
What? Fudge?
Fudge pie.
Yeah, there's
Are
a
you kidding
fudge
me?
pie.
Fudge pie is
Really?
great.
Pie
That's a
is
Southern
good.
thing.
Yeah, that's a
We
Southern
have
thing.
that at church on Wednesday nights.
Never had that.
I had
time.
never
Fudge
heard of
pie,
chess pie until I moved to the South.
Egg custard pie, chess pie. My grandmother made a killer chess pie.
That's right.
But yeah, there's
pie's
all
good.
kinds of pies in the South.
Key lime is currently trending on Twitter.
I like.
Oh.
I like me a
is
good
it
key lime
really?
pie.
I do too, man.
I like key lime too.
I a couple of different times on like Wednesday night church, they would always have fudge pie, and I would form the most Southern combination possible is fudge pie with fruit tea. It was great.
Okay.
It's a good-
Sounds like a podcast.
Good balance, Neil.
Fudge Pie Fruit Tea Podcast on the Southern Podcast Network.
Oh, goodness. I'm sure Slay will have some thoughts on me not liking any kind of hot fruit or fruit pie. But anyway, Slay's always got thoughts, and that's why he's going to join us in about 10 minutes.
That's why the show won't have any roof.
The show will not contain
got
a
a
roof. A
roof.
Murfreesboro man says he has lost his roof, and that's because of Ron Slay. 3
There it
years,
is.
$29 million for Andre Dillard from Philadelphia, reportedly for the Tennessee Titans. The move made yesterday, reportedly by Rand Carthon. Different from the first John Robinson move, which was trading Dorial Green-Beckham for Dennis Kelly. That one worked out pretty well.
Sure did.
Worked out very well. 27 years old, former 22 overall pick in 2019 out of Washington State. That was 1 year removed from Philadelphia selecting one Derek Barnett from Nashville, Tennessee, and the University of Tennessee in the 2018 NFL draft. But essentially a guy that was replaced by Jordan Mailata, the 2018 seventh-round pick, because of injury early on in his career. Correct me if I'm wrong. That was more about Mailata just
It was.
really
Yes.
exceeding expectations.
It was.
I've seen a lot of Titans fans complaining of like, oh, well, he got replaced by a seventh-round pick. Like, I don't know if Jordan Mailata is a regular seventh-round pick.
He is the outlier.
Yep.
This is the story of you striking gold on the third day of the draft. Doesn't happen that often.
That's right. And it certainly happened with Philadelphia. And one of the big reasons why they are able to play for a Super Bowl this past year. A couple of other moves being made this morning. And I love just the amount of breaking news we've already had this morning. The Las Vegas Raiders, usually, I don't know, it happens after us. The Las Vegas Raiders are signing Jacoby Myers to a 3-year deal worth $33 million with $21 million guaranteed. Another New England and Las Vegas tie-in, writing Ian Rappaport. The deal was negotiated by Drew Rosenhaus, and once again, my pet peeve, the fact that every deal negotiated by Drew Rosenhaus is reported as a Drew Rosenhaus deal, but that's a different conversation.
That's a big loss for the New England Patriots.
It is.
And a lot of folks kind of thought he would re-sign with them because you think about this, and I can't off the top of my head remember who all their receiving core is, but they missed on N'Keal Harry, a first-round pick just a few years ago, and that never really panned out. And Jacoby Myers, I think, was, if he wasn't their best receiver, he certainly was their most consistent one and making plays. That's a void for them.
I wonder, I just feel like more so than adding players, like they've been like getting rid of players. And I know that's been Bill Belichick's thing too. Like once you reach a certain potential or you get too old or something, like you're out of there. But who in the heck plays for the New England Patriots right now? Like, I honestly,
You don't have much.
you got rid of Jonnu Smith, who you barely utilized. You think Mac Jones your quarterback, maybe, but I'm not even sold that he's the dude.
Well, the drinks are still on sale because it's Zappy Hour in New
Yeah.
England. So,
Right?
You can still get a domestic for $3 because it's Zappy Hour.
Zappy Hour. Listen to you.
Well, and now that the Las Vegas Raiders have signed Jimmy Garoppolo, you no longer have as many rumors, I would imagine, about Mac Jones joining his former OC in Josh McDaniels.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a trade rumor over the weekend. I feel like there have been a ton of rumors that we haven't even, just a ton of things like that just kind of happened Saturday, and then the complete opposite has happened the past 24 hours. That's the fun of tampering beginning. And then we still have Aaron Rodgers just sitting around, just waiting.
He's chilling.
Buying his time, sitting in dark places. Jonathan Schaefer.
You, Aaron Rodgers.
Thank you so much. 6. It's number 6.
Okay, so Jonnu Smith is gone. Jacoby Myers is gone. They had Nelson Aguilar. I forgot about that. Devontae Parker, Hunter Henry. But and Kendrick Bourne, seems like they traded him too. Tyquan Thornton. Anyway, yeah,
there's just not a lot there,
Well, and part of it, I think, is just because of the offensive system they run.
Mm-hmm.
Just like there's no clear-cut running back. I mean, you could say it's Ramondre Stevenson right now, but
guess who they don't have? Tom Brady.
They don't have Tommy. No Tommy B.
They got Matt Patricia. So
yay.
Got that going.
Didn't he leave? Patricia left.
He's not the OC anymore.
Right, but I think he actually left. I'll have to double check.
They ran him out of town on a rail. Is that what you're saying?
All those Alabama fans now have their OC from their college team to their NFL team up in New England.
Yep.
And Yankees spring training is well underway.
Eagles' new linebackers coach? Is that where Patricia went?
That may be right. That's
You're
a good
right.
question.
The OC in New England is the man Mike Vrabel calls Bob, Bill O'Brien.
What the?
He is a senior advisor for the Patriots.
He will not become the new. Okay.
Matt Patricia.
So senior advisor must be on Nick Saban's staff.
Nick Saban, Bill Belichick, the Venn diagram is just a circle. It's a circle filled in with one color, and it's red. Coming up next, we shift the conversation to the world of college basketball and lose the roof of the show with our weekly conversation with Ron Slay. Always a good time talking college hoops with him. I'll talk a little bit of Tennessee and Louisiana because we mentioned yesterday that the last time the Vols were a 4 seed, Ron Slay was on the team. They made the Sweet 16, and they played Louisiana. It's deja vu all over again. Coming up with Mr. Ron Slay himself on 104.5 The Zone. Oh, that music means that Red Panda's best friend is ready to talk with us. On remote, Kayla and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Rhett Bryant, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling. And joining us on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline this morning, the hardest working man in showbiz, Ronald Aloysius Sylvester Slay. Good morning, Ron. How are we?
Hey, everybody. How goes it?
What up, That was quite the intro there. Hey, oh, hip hop hooray!
It sounds like the time change has kicked your ass like the rest of us. Wow. You okay over there, big guy?
No, I'm great, man.
Okay, good.
I was trying to get to my boom boom room because I didn't want everybody else to wake up.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fair. That's very kind of you.
I was being thoughtful, Gordion.
Yes.
Slay, you had a busy weekend covering the SEC tournament, crushing it on television as per usual. But what was it like throwing the bowls up to Red Panda?
It was actually cool, man. The thing was watching her on the unicycle, like try to balance and not wanting to throw her balance off. So I wanted to hit her right dead in the chest with the bowls, if that makes sense, because I didn't want her to have to reach and do nothing crazy, because I couldn't be the reason that she falls off the unicycle. Now, the bowls falling is one thing, but her falling off the unicycle because she's trying to catch something out of her catch radius, that would have been a problem. That was the main thing, just keeping her upright. And then, then she just did her thing. Like, that's amazing to watch up close, man. That's a lot of bowls, a lot of flipping, a lot of balance. Something I ain't got. So it was interesting.
It was not bad. It was certainly very cool to see. Are you getting deja vu all over again from Tennessee playing as a 4 seed against Louisiana Lafayette, just like in 2000?
I am, and I love it. I've been trying to figure out what's going on with Lucas Panzica and why he's so nervous, and I just don't like this Louisiana Lafayette matchup and all that. Like, come on, dog. If anything you want in the March Madness tournament is history, and when history is on Tennessee side of this, like this is the thing about March Madness. As soon as you think that it's scripted, that's when the script flips. Every single time. As soon as you think you got to figure it out, as soon as you think the ball's going to be out the first round, I'm telling you, this is the times when it's just something about it, man. It's something about it. You cannot script it. It's just the greatest scene that hasn't been in Hollywood yet. You know what I'm saying? So I love it, man. I remember banging against Lonnie Thomas and them guys, and they were up on us. I was inserted into the game, and that's when James Worthy he took off with the sleigh ride, and it's been popping ever since. But that was a hell of a game, man. Louisiana Lafayette, Louisiana Raging Cajuns now. Yeah, it was Louisiana Lafayette then, but they had a good team then. Kind of built the same exact way. They got a big man that was a player of the year. They won their conference. They were going up against us, and we came out. We came out and got to them, man. You got to have your bench play. So I would love to see Tobe Awaka come in and have a hell of a game. Jemai Meshack, somebody like that. It's going to be, to me, somebody that's unsung to come in and change this game.
And Rod, did you feel like the Vols got enough, I guess without Zakai Ziegler, enough experience with some of these other guys coming in? I know that they got bounced a little bit earlier from the tournament than they would have wanted to, of course, but they did get that game in where, they were able to get some other guys in. You were able to see if Josiah Jordan-James was consistent, Vescovi was consistent. You could see really how well this team could play.
Yeah, I think you did. I think you got that. That's way better than what you would get in practice.
Yeah.
You use those games, especially knowing that you got a seed already locked up. You love to get some game feel. I mean, a game feel with the adrenaline pumping, the atmosphere buzzing, and you got all that. Something that you couldn't necessarily make happen in practice. The only thing I think going forward is the health. Okay. Josiah playing those back-to-back games, he was struggling a bit. Who would be able to? I don't think this team goes far if Josiah's hurt. Mm-hmm. If he can't be 80, 85%, it's going to be tough because you need him to be aggressive like he was against Ole Miss, and be able to come out and play, even with the addition of Meshack and Santi playing the way he plays, Josiah's he's just different. He can go get his own bucket. He's been on that stage before. Defensively, you know what he can bring, also rebounding. So hopefully you can get up where you can take him out of the game, where he can rest and ice down and get ready for the next game if they were to advance. But that's the only thing that worries me. I do think Meshack emerged to a whole different level. I didn't think he could handle the ball the way he did, but being able to get downhill and being able to kick out to pinpoint passes to shooters and be able to finish, and then his shot, he was confident in shooting it. Like, there wasn't no hitch in his shot. Wasn't a hesitation like it had been before. So maybe Zakai being out was a blessing in him. And him being able to, early in the season, get thrust in that starter role, go back to the bench, and then get thrust back into a starting role. Maybe he saw something different. You always see something different when you're sitting and watching the game. So maybe he saw something different. He has a different approach to the game, which it looked like he did coming into the SEC tournament. I was quite pleased, actually.
Brett brought this up yesterday, and it's something that you have to kind of pay attention to is the turnovers, right? And just that seems to be a consistent problem. But is it easier said than done by just saying, oh, well, that's fixable? Like, you playing the game at that level, how fixable, Slay, is that going into the tournament?
Well, I think it is fixable. I think you just got to play a little bit better detail to it. The thing is, you want to be able to counter that. So if you have these turnovers, how are you going to steal some easy buckets and some easy turnovers? I think that's the thing with Tennessee. With missing Zakai, when those turnovers happen, you always know you're going to get an opportunity to get it back, whether he's coming off his man, getting a steal, getting in the passing lane, letting somebody else overplay because he's pressuring and getting a steal, and you get out and get a 2-on-1, 1-on-0, or 3-on-2 break going. You're able to steal opportunities. And I can't find where you're going to be able to steal the opportunities at. And I think you're going to have turnovers because you don't have your point guard, but can you counter them and get you some? Like, I don't think they had many transition points versus Ole Miss or Missouri. And that, you can't play like that, man. You can't play like that. And the thing with a point guard like Zakai, he's always, even in set defenses, he's pressuring and getting down into the paint and pulling it back out. So that makes the defense contract. And if once they do that, then you get those open shooters and you got a different ball game. I don't see that yet with anyone. So it's going to be interesting to see if somebody can take that role on and help Tennessee kind of get into the paint a little bit more outside of just feeding the post.
Big Ron, that leads me into the question for you. So the 15-point win over Ole Miss last week, that was a senior-led affair. That most of the seniors had most of the point production in that. Is that something that you're looking for as part of the formula to advancing in this thing? And then, to your point, who is the young fella who has to step up in this?
Yeah, to the first part, that's exactly what I'm looking for, Gordon. I think when you walk into walk into the March Madness atmosphere, it's something that you cannot explain. Now, luckily, you got some sophomores that had an opportunity to experience it last year, but you still can't explain it for your guys that you have that have been stepping up, like Tobia Walker. You know, you need guys with a little bit of experience to be able to go into there with those seniors. I was able to get shielded, if that makes sense, because we had veteran leadership when I came into the NCAA tournament. Because, man, when you get out of your hotel room, into the elevator, down the elevator, and walk into the lobby, and you're greeted with all those fans, the band, and then you get on the bus, and you get the police like, that right there in itself is an event. And we ain't even made it to the gym yet. You know what I'm saying? So that right there can wow you, even if you've been in it 1 year, 2 years, but you got guys like Josiah, Olivier, Santi, Uros, who's all been in this before. So this is routine. It should be routine. That's why I think you need that senior leadership to go out there and stand up and be able to kind of, keep everything as cool as it can be. So you waiting on guys to step up. Meshack will be in a different role. I would love to see B.J. Edwards get some time. Don't know if that's going to happen, but Tobia Walker, man, things that you can control, Rick, It's energy and effort, and that's what Toby Walker plays with. You don't have to have no skill. You don't have to have no touch. You don't have to have any sense, in a sense, if that makes sense. Like, that's 3 senses right there. So if you do that and just go out there and play with that energy like that, everything will be fine. Because the team that you're playing, they've never been in this situation. So you got to use that to your advantage.
Big man, what's your schedule like now?
Oh, what are you on? I got tonight. I got Vandy and Yale in the NIT.
Okay,
that's right.
Yeah, so I got that. Then next week, ain't no telling what'll pop up. They'll probably try to have me do another game, which I'm cool with. And then next Saturday and Sunday for the Sweet 16 Elite 8, I have to go to Charlotte for studio.
Look at you,
man!
I'm a big man.
I'm a little bit everywhere, baby.
You're bad.
What's going on?
You're like the old ZZ Top song. You're bad. You're nationwide.
Yeah, I'm like Caleb, man. You look up, I might be doing a baseball game.
Sure.
Come do baseball with me, sure.
Absolutely.
I'm everywhere, man. But I just know one thing. All the Vandy fans out there, boy, I sure hope y'all show up tonight to the Memorial Gymnasium. Because I was not impressed by the Vandy fans walking out on their team when they were losing in the SEC tournament. After all the Stackhouse calling us out on set, which he didn't, and we will straighten that up another time. But all of that, and to see this team get walked out on when they were losing, when they should have stayed there and gave this team a standing ovation because of the heart and hustle that they played with and turnaround that they had in their season. So you have another opportunity at home in Memorial Gymnasium to go and give this team their just due. And I'm telling you, they deserve it.
They absolutely deserve it, Slay. And do you think it's time for the committee to start putting more weight on how teams finish the season? Because according to the net ranking and the RPI and all of those factors the committee takes, Vanderbilt's resume wasn't good enough in totality to make the tournament. But based on how they're playing compared to the other teams that were first four out, and I mean, heck, the fact that they had just beaten Mississippi State, why doesn't the committee put more emphasis on the way teams finish the season?
Committee might have been fried. I think my. I think committee might have just had a little fried situation going over on Saturday, carried over on Sunday or something. Ain't no telling, man.
Wait a minute. Did Ron Slade just drop a Stephen A. Smith weed reference? Because that's basically what he just did.
I love it.
I'm telling you. Hey, Slade, man, I'm looking like, what are you watching? Like, I understand. Like, I love Mississippi State, and I think they should be in. I think they play well. I think they non-conference and all the net and everything is fine. But if you look at what Vanderbilt did going down the stretch of the season, man, I'm sorry. There ain't no team hotter outside of Duke and Kansas when they got it together. Outside of those two teams, Vanderbilt was hot, regardless of losing their rim protector, leading scorer, leading rebounder. Still going to beat Kentucky twice. Like, it's right there in your face. And at some point, man, you gotta believe what your eyes are showing you. And then go back and see if the numbers add up to it. But I'm all right with an eye test every now and then. You know what I'm saying? Like, for different occasions. So they got to get that together, man. They got to get that right. And the old metrics or whatever they got going on, talking about the net and everything, man, everything don't show up in numbers for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything don't show up in numbers for me. I'm sorry.
Well, Slay, talking about Duke, I know Tennessee is not allowed to look ahead to the second-round matchup yet until they finish off the Ragin' Cajuns, but we're not on the team, so we can do that. What do you think about the matchup with Duke? I know they're only a 6.5-point favorite over Oral Roberts, who's got some really talented players on that team, but how does Tennessee match up with Duke? Because this is already a very popular pick for a lot of people that either watch or don't watch college basketball and all their brackets that they're way too open about telling us about on Twitter.
Yeah, I think it's actually a good matchup, man. I think you outside of Roach for Duke, I think that would be the only person that you would try to counter. That's when Zakat would come in handy, but he's not there. So that's the only thing that I would say is in Duke's favor. Outside of that, man, I think it's a good matchup across the board. But the thing is health and what do your big men bring to the game? I think that's it, man. You got to be impactful if you're Tennessee to be able to control something. You got height and length on your side, and you got to be able to use that and play to it. Not necessarily meaning that we got to give it to them in the post and they got to score 20 and have 12 rebounds, but you got to be impactful, man, and be able to eat up space where you posting up and a guy beats his man like Meshack or Josiah, and they're able to come in there and finish on you and him because you're sealing in the post. That's what's eating up space. You know, me and Shafe were talking about it before coming on. Man, you got to be able to use them hips. You got to be able to carve out some space. It's a boom room for a reason. And if you're not ready, especially coming from the SEC, taking on the ACC opponent, where it is more of a finesse style played, you got to take that. And you also got to see how the game is being officiated. You know, I think that's going to be key going because you get a lot of different officiating crews in March Madness. So you got to be able to see how they're calling the game. Is it a Big Ten officiating crew? Is it the Pac-12? Whatever it may be, you got to be able to adapt to that. And I think you can. But if you impose your will, I think everything falls in line. Duke got some great talent, without question. They got a big fella from Oak Hill, Reeves. I love his game. They got plenty of guys, man. But I do think Tennessee is equal to them as far as the matchups. Maybe not the shooting, but the matchups, I think it'll be fine.
SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey sat down with you guys on the set between one of the games. I can't remember which one it was. I thought it was an incredible conversation. You guys asked some difficult questions, I should say, which I appreciated. And one of the things Greg Sankey made clear is like, you got the SEC titles on the football side of things. How about now on the hoop side, since you're trying to build that? And you've got 8 teams in this year's tournament, which ties for the most with the Big Ten. Vandy would have given you 9, which would have been the most. But out of those teams, Ron, and I know it's easy to say Alabama with the number 1 overall seed, is there a pick in there, a sneaky pick that at least can kind of push their way to the Final Four?
Yeah, I honestly love Missouri. I love Missouri. I love Texas A&M, what Buzz Williams is doing. I think they will learn from the tape. From playing Alabama in the championship, Booster Alford and Wade Taylor, you got to have guards to win tournaments, and they got 2 really good ones. Missouri, when you talk about 5 guys on the floor that can do a little bit of everything and switch multiple positions, they're a really good team and coach really well. You see a lot of similarities between Dennis Gates and Jerry Stackhouse as far as their coaching style and how stoic they are on the sideline. Like, they never waver. They never get too high, never get too low. You don't even know if they're winning the game or losing the game if you're looking at their facial expression or whatever. They're always the same. And that kind of that spills over to their players. Like Missouri, they have a guy that can tilt the scale with Kobe Brown. Then you got guys like Goldston. You got guys like DeMoy Hodge. They got guys playing with chips on their shoulder. And I think you need that going into the tournament. Buzz Williams, pretty much the same thing. Getting beat like that against Alabama, knowing Alabama was clicking on all cylinders, I think they take that. And that was the lasting impression that they don't want to leave. So I think they come into the tournament and can make a good run. Auburn, you never know. You never know. They're Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You know, they got all the pieces, but what does Wendell Green do? What does he bring? Does he turn the ball over? Does he try to be the leading scorer? And if he is, then I think that's a problem for Auburn. And it's tough. It's tough for them to get past it. You know how I feel about Tennessee. Who else we got? Missouri. Arkansas, another team, man. Like, if they get to making about 5 or 6 threes a game, it's a totally different game for them. Totally different game because they got the beef down low to control the boards, and then they got the athletes and the stars in Anthony Black and Nick Smith Jr. to get the job done. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do as well.
So you got time for one more segment? Preview your game tonight with us coming back?
Let's run it up.
Let's do it. Ron Slay with us this morning on our Ramon, Kayla, and Will. We'll wrap things up coming up next with the Right Reverend Ron Slay right here on 104.5 The Zone.
Stay off the damn weed.
It's Ramon Foster for Window Nation. If you're noticing your energy costs have been rising, well, nationwide, they're up 14%. And it's not too late to fix your high energy bills, all while getting off-season prices from Window Nation. Beat the rush with 2 free windows with every 2 you buy. Plus, pay 0 down, make 0 payments, and get 0% financing for 24 months. Yes, that's 2 full years of paying nothing simply by calling 866-90-NATION or going online at windownation.com. And this is another reason to go to Window Nation Windows. You can save up to 30% on your heating bills by switching to their windows. Why? Because 43% of your utility bill is heating costs. You'll also increase the value of your home by up to $12,000. And here's the thing. If your windows are sticking, drafty, crack, hard to open or lock in when they close, yes, you need new windows. And you can have your windows installed with a whole bunch of comfort because the average installer has over 16 years of experience with over 20,000 windows installed. Again, buy 2, get 2 windows free on any style from Window Nation and pay nothing until 2025. And this is the thing here in Middle Tennessee. The weather has been up and down. And weather impacts your windows. Hot days and cold nights can cause caulk to crack, seal failures, and condensation. Window Nation only uses the top-of-the-line materials, including mold spray and quad max sealing, toughest against all weather conditions. Pay nothing for 24 months. If you buy 2 windows, you get 2 windows free on any style from Window Nation. There's no limit to it. Save thousands on your new windows and energy bills, all while upgrading the look and feel of your home. Reach out to Window Nation and call them at 866-90-NATION or go online at windownation.com.
One final segment this morning of Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, with the one and only Ron Slade previewing his matchup tonight. Yale and Vanderbilt. Ivy League against Vanderbilt. With Ron Slay in the building. Slay, I really hope you are right and hope that the fans over there on West End show out in big numbers tonight, because that team deserves a good finish to their season tonight.
Nah, without question, man. And you very rarely get to see a team perform at home in the postseason. So, I mean, I understand it's the NIT, but you are playing in a postseason tournament, so you got to take advantage of it. And if you feel slighted, this is an opportunity to show everyone why you should be in the big dance, in the NCAA tournament. Go win this thing, or at least you got to have a good showing to win the first game, and then you can see where the chips where they fall after this.
And Slay, too, Yale is a team that's got a lot of recent NCAA tournament experience, and they were the one seed in the Ivy League that lost to Princeton in the championship game in a conference that didn't even have a tournament until a couple of years ago. What have you kind of seen from them? How big of a challenge do they present to this Vandy team?
Man, they can really shoot the ball. Coach James Jones, who was Coach of the Year, his 24th season there. So he's been rocking and rolling. They've been in the tournament the last 2 out of 3 years. This year being that exception when Princeton beat them in the championship. So you got them. You got a couple of lefties on their team that can fill it up. Matt Nolan is who they run their offense through, 6'6" guy. On the wing, loves to post up. Really not going to shoot the three. Can shoot it, but you would rather him get it 15 feet and in. He's the leading scorer. Then you got a guy, Polikitas. John Polikitas, man. Lefty, 41% from three. And then this young man right here, August Mahoney. When I talk, he's an ideal, to me, Vanderbilt player. I guess he just chose Yale. I didn't get recruited, but he's 6'4", shooting 46% from three. And it's not all wide open threes. Some of these are contested. You can't give them a look. So Vandy have their work cut out. And then you always got to have a point guard, man. Somebody small and running the show for Yale. And they got a guy in Bez Mbing, my bad.
Perfect.
6'4", so he reminds you a little bit of Mignon, a little bit. The only difference is Mignon is a little bit more shiftier offensively as far as getting to the cup, but Mbing is just as clever and just as crafty as far as knowing how to get to the basket. Defensive player of the year. Just like Mignon, not going to shoot plenty of threes, but he is going to get downhill and create some opportunities for his guys. So good team, man. Rebound and defense and sharing the ball is their principles that they're built on. They do a good job of it. They were 11th in the nation in rebounding, 11th in field goal defense. So you got to be able to run your sets and score the ball against them to kind of get back. They're not looking to run much. I think Vandy has the advantage in that, getting stops and getting out and pushing the pace and pushing tempo. I expect Tyron Lawrence to be able to have a big game for Vanderbilt because to me he has the mismatch. Jordan Wright can kind of be caught up with Nolan, if you will, and, I already told you about Mbang and Mignon, but it's going to be interesting to see what a guy like Tyron Lawrence can get going. And no Studi. Studi's in the transfer portal.
In the portal. That's right.
Yeah,
he's been there for 10 years, too.
Slade doing his homework, man.
I know. Hey, do you have a GPA good enough to get into this one, Rhett?
No.
Do you, Will and Slade?
No.
No, that's what I said, Kayla. I'm trying to figure out why they called me with these two matchups. Yeah, I thought they should have. They should have had a lawyer like Jay Billups doing to call this game or something. Jay Billups should have been called. They got to call this.
They wouldn't even let me into billing. So there's that one.
I
tell you what, Ronald Sylvester Slay, you have yourself a good call tonight in that NIT game, everybody.
I appreciate it. I hope Stackhouse don't come over and get me.
Oh,
I believe you can handle yourself. I ain't worried about that.
You might have to suit him, though.
Yeah. I appreciate y'all, man.
All right, there's Rod Slay. That is the show on the Tuesday morning edition. We're back together tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Tampering continues. So does the conversation. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning on RK Dub.